Are you ready?
You're listening to DJ Oz Ozzy.
Okie dokie. Come on. Son, I'd like you to step away from this vector and get into a different coordinate pronto.
Your birthday, let's have some fun.
Liar!
It is your birthday, let's have some fun. It is your birthday, let's have some fun.
Liar! 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 Liar!
Happy birthday.
I come with eldritch knowledge not meant for mortal minds that may drive you mad. For did you know, war pigs and deck the halls can be sung to each other's tunes? Deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Don we now our gay apparel. Sing the ancient Yuletide carol. See the blazing Yule before us. Strike the harp and join the chorus. Follow me in merry measure while I tell of Yuletide treasure. Oh Lord, yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Fast away the old year passes. Hail the new year, lads and lasses. Sing we joyous all together, heedless of the wind and weather. And once again, rock on.
hello, and good morning, my beauties and bees. It's good to see everyone. Welcome to Live from the Hive. It is 8:40 on December 14th. We are in the thick of the holiday season, so I'm a nerd. I'll play like Christmas stuff and whatnot. But today's even more special because it is Maya's birthday. As Spooky said, it's Maya's birthday again. So happy birthday, Maya. I hope you enjoyed your techno robot birthday song. And hello everybody and thank you for dropping by. Let me pop through here and just say hi to everybody that I can grab, because PC was here bright and early dropping links, and then Dave showed up, and Greg. Good morning, fellas. James is here, and then Ember. Hello, beautiful. Left-handed Jedi's in the house, of course. Umami showed up. What else do we got? Look at the trees. We got Who's Your Buddy? Hey, sexy. We've got Sasquatch Secrets. We have Maya. Yeah, and again, happy birthday to Maya. Native Atheist in the house. D Parks is here. Ember, thank you so much for dropping the channel memberships. I got half of the Apostate sisters here. Nancy, hello. Ember gifted 5 Hive memberships, and they were received by Kalasia, KCA Randy, Nitty, and Sumami, and Left-Handed Jedi. So enjoy your Hive access. You have accesses to all the sweet nectar of the Hive. All right, who else do we got? I don't want to miss anybody. I always feel bad if I don't say hi to somebody. Dr. Osiris, hello. And if you're lurking, hello to you too, because I love my lurkers just as much as I love my chatters. You all contribute to what makes this channel. Do you see me in your magic mirror? Let me see. Are you behind me? I don't see you, no. No, John. I only have one birthday a year. You might be thinking of Nick, who had a B-day and anytime Titan got bored. Yeah. We could just say, I'm just going to start saying every couple of weeks, happy birthday, Maya, and replaying that video and seeing how many people I can get on board with it. Like, it didn't know it'll be like January 3rd or something. Like, guess what, everybody? It's Maya's birthday, and play that video again. February 9th, it's Maya's birthday. That'd get old real quick, I bet. Yeah. So, some things that are unfolding here. I'm probably going to reschedule when my CrypticCorner videos premiere. I'm probably going to push it back to 10 Central Time. Just when they premiere on Friday nights. Now that I'm living with people and doing stuff, Friday evenings are not really the best for it. Ben does his stream on Friday nights around that same time, which is a panel, and I'd love to be able to join that. Last night, Patty and Nancy were doing stuff around that time, so I've come to the conclusion that it should just be something that a premiere should really be something that what I strive for is something that goes when nobody else is live. Because hell, I'd rather watch a live thing than a premiere, even my own premiere, because live interactive entertainment is just what I prefer. But I understand not everybody can make it here on Saturday mornings, but everybody loves CrypticCorner, so I want to make sure that it's available. So I figure if we do the show live on Saturday mornings, we could premiere the back episodes at 10 o'clock on Fridays. And I think I'm still going to keep doing the getting weird with it segment. I'm not having as much fun with it as I was, but we'll see what today has, because we got Florida crap today. Noah's Ark from Florida. Stick around for that. If you are interested in finding out why Noah was from Florida, why Noah was the original Florida man, you got to stick around. And yeah. I agree, Bree, and try to do the same thing with premieres. Yeah, it's just it just seems logical to try to, and I may dot them in here for a few other days of the week too. Oh, there's my alarm telling me that it's time to get up and do and do Hive Sci. I still have not reset that or turned it off or anything. I just got it like lit. Yeah, and before I get into Cryptic Corner, which is coming up here in just a second, I do want to thank Thomas from Wild World. He gave me a shout out, gave Dave a shout out, and gave Nikki a shout out on his 100,000 subscriber celebration. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it right. Congratulations on the 100,000s, and thank you for the shout out. I did see a spike in my, a definite spike in my subscriber count and a spike in my, yeah, I've put up more decor. I have to keep things feeling like home. I have to keep my nest feeling like a nest. Yeah, it's a spike in my the video that he recommended, which was my mega spiders in North America video, because, you know, covering mega spiders. But yes, hopefully I'm not as echoey now. I've repositioned my mic to here, and I'm hoping that that stops so much of the echo. I doubt Thomas is here this morning. Sometimes he is. He catches maybe like 1 out of 7 shows or something, but it's always thrilling when he comes. I think it depends on if I have an animal topic. And I do have an animal topic today, actually an animal topic that might interest Thomas or you or yeah, or anybody with a keen interest in cryptids, because we are going to be covering one of the old classics, a quintessential cryptid. So, you know what? Instead of giving all this hype up to it, I'm ready to roll into it. Who is ready to move over to Cryptic Corner? Let's go. Hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and as you notice, the hive got a little bit darker while I was away. Yeah, I closed the blinds. It's for atmosphere, but we are going deep and dark today. We may be going darker than I had to fix something there. We may be going darker than I've really gone before. Now, I've talked about caves before. I used to go caving as a kid. Spelunking is what we called it. We didn't have all the fancy gear and stuff. We just had coveralls, flashlights, and about maybe 80 yards of rope, right? Talk slow with an echo so it's cool, like I sound like Darth Vader. Yeah. Am I still echoey? I hope not. Yeah, it's barely 300's not a bad number, Doc. It's fine, Doc. I had 300 subscribers. The transpositions only doesn't even have 500 yet. So don't feel bad about low sub count. The algorithm's fickle. Yeah. And you just got stung. Look at the trees that had a bug bot sting you. But I used to do some spelunking. And I've, you know, I told the vulture story before, where me and my brother found a vulture nested back in one of the caves. And that, I grew up in Missouri, which is like the land of caves, right? You can't walk 30 yards without running into another cave. So we had lots of caves to explore. Most of them were pretty shallow or just came to a place where we could no longer go any further. So that's what I spent a lot of my childhood doing. It wasn't just caves, though. I mean, I was climbing trees and trespassing on people's property and chasing their cows and climbing in their haylofts and stuff. You grew up in a little small town. Like, I'm talking like 3,000 people small, very tiny town. You make your own entertainment. And yeah, we didn't have all the spelunking gear, but god damn it, we were going to go down to those caves. Now, Hannibal, the big city, I say city loosely, is like 45,000 people. Closest to us was, Hannibal, Missouri. And Hannibal, Missouri was famous for a few things, obviously the Mark Twain thing, but back in the 60s, 3 boys went missing in a cave, right? And they went cave exploring like what we would do, and nobody ever saw them again. The story's called like 3 Little Boys or something. I may cover it in more detail at some point on a different section, but that's what we would do. We'd go spelunking and go, obviously do the same things like fishing and splashing in the creeks and stuff and whatnot in the rivers, but caves. Now, I was always told it was like super dangerous and we need not be doing it, but we just kept doing it anyway. And there's other situations like that too. And the only thing I can think that's that I've never done and don't think I would ever do is underwater cave diving. One of my biggest fears is drowning. Like in my heart, I'm like afraid of drowning. Like I have a stigma about it. I'm sure it's rooted in something deeper, and I imagine I have some thoughts on what it could be, but I'm not going to unpack all that right now. Let's just say that there was some trauma that made me afraid of drowning, and then the thought of drowning lost in an underwater cave is terrifying. But what if you didn't just drown? What if there was something down there with you? That's today's topic. Today's topic is the Lusca, which is a giant underwater cave monster. Most of the time it looks like a giant octopus, but sometimes it looks like a giant octopus half shark. But before I get into the Lusca proper, we need to explore a famous account. Something that always comes up whenever you talk about the Lusca. And I decided that for today, we are going to let this... hold on here. Where are you? There we go. We are going to let author Denver Michaels tell us about the Lusca. Now, he has a lot of channels about like 14 stuff. You got lizard people, giant skulls, lost cities, the same kind of stuff that we kind of cover over here, basically, except for I imagine I'm quite a bit more skeptical. This is what we're looking at right now, though. It's called the St. Augustine Monster. Now, the St. Augustine Monster. Well, let's let Denver explain it. Let me know how the audio is.
In 1896, a strange carcass washed ashore near St. Augustine. 2 boys discovered the body and reported their find to Dr. DeWitt Webb, a local physician and founder of the St. Augustine Historical Society and Institute of Science. Webb examined the carcass on December 1st, and in his estimation, it weighed at least 5 tons. He believed a giant octopus had washed ashore. The mysterious carcass became an area attraction and garnered the attention of various news outlets. The New York Herald ran the following piece on January 3rd, 1897. Its head was nearly destroyed, and only the stumps of 2 arms were visible. The body, as it lies somewhat embedded in the sand, is 18 feet long and about 7 feet wide, while it rises 3.5 feet above the sand. The weight of the body and head would have been at least 4 or 5 tons. If the 8 arms held the proportions usually...
And if the 8 arms, not all octopus have 8 arms. There's 7-armed octopus. And one of those arms is its naughty bits. Just saying. And some species of octopus will actually rip it off and hand it to them. I don't know if that's what's happening with the Lusca, though. Does the Lusca self-defallate?
Seen in smaller species of the octopus. They would have been at least 75 to 100 feet in length and about 18 inches in diameter at the base. During the second week of January 1897, tides dragged the mysterious carcass back out to sea.
Now, this is something we call a globster, and they're kind of known from all over the world, but certain regions, have more because of their location. Japan and New Zealand is islands with a sea between them and the mainland that's got a really fast current. They get a lot of it. The eastern coast of the U.S., because of the Gulf Stream, gets hit with this, especially down in Florida with globsters. Not nearly as much as Japan and New Zealand, though. Some Caribbean islands will have them wash up. Some of the Canadian islands will have them wash up, but and then obviously you have the UK and the Scandinavian regions of the North Sea, where they'll also have a lot of actual cephalopod remains wash up. I'm not convinced that this is a cephalopod. Not convinced. Monsters have strange bodies. That is a fact. It wouldn't be a monster. Facts are real. Oh, coming full circle now. They have a decentralized brain and basically have independent brains for each arm that may or may not communicate with each other. Yeah, it's like they're almost like a colony of organisms working together for a common goal. I didn't have an octopus shirt to wear or any kind of Lusca shirt or anything. I did have my oversized sweater from last Christmas that's got jellyfishes on it. All kinds of beautiful jellyfish. And I was cold when I woke up this morning, so I'm like, matter of fact, I turned my heater off. Let me turn it back down. Because I'm warmer now, and as a matter of fact, I'm starting to get a little hot in this oversized sweater. So, I mean, it's not exactly cold. What's the temperature? 44 degrees. It's not that bad out. I may go swimming after the show. I don't know. But yeah, it's finally feels like winter a little bit here. We got our Christmas stuff up and everything. So yeah. All right.
Washed ashore again. This time a couple of miles from where it beached the first time. The carcass was later moved to a location where it would be safe from the tides. For a time afterward, it served as a tourist attraction.
Yeah, Ember, that's something that one of my posts was about a couple of weeks back. I guess it's been more than a couple of weeks back because it was on Twitter, and I haven't posted on Twitter in forever. Someone posted about how weird river dolphins look. They said, look at this alien MF or whatever. And I'm like, only on Twitter would a hairless monkey with use electronic signals to send messages to other hairless monkeys about how weird another animal is.
No one knows what ultimately happened to the body.
I ate it.
The carcass has been dubbed the St. Augustine monster, and it is one of the earliest and best documented examples of a globster. Globsters are simply large, unidentifiable organic masses that mysteriously wash up on beaches. Many believe globsters are the remains of mythical creatures, such as the giant octopus and the Lusca.
And the Kraken.
By giant octopus,
you can literally see the whale shape in these in these though. I mean, literally you can see like that this is the fat from stripped off of a whale, right? I mean, I can see that.
Talking about something much larger than the giant Pacific octopus, which at most grows to 30 feet and 120 pounds. The Lusca is a colossal beast lurking in the Caribbean Sea that is a strange blend of octopus and shark. According to
Well,
legend,
sometimes it is. A lot of times it's just a giant octopus. I prefer to see it as just a giant octopus, or maybe like a finned octopus that has a rudimentarily shark-like shape. But octopuses don't need to be giant to take on sharks. They just need to have a equal to or greater than size ratio, and they will take down a shark.
the Lusca reaches lengths of 200 feet and snatches boats and drags them to a watery doom. Usually, globsters turn out to be whales or basking sharks. However, oftentimes...
So the ones that turn out to be basking sharks aren't usually considered globsters. They're usually considered sea serpents, because the way that basking sharks decompose, it looks like kind of like a plesiosaur. So people are like, oh, it's a plesiosaur. It's a living dinosaur. Plesiosaurs aren't dinosaurs. Regardless, they will just be like, oh, must be proof of sea serpents because of the way that they decompose.
The remains are too decomposed to positively identify. Dr. Joseph F. Gennaro Jr., a biologist at the University of Florida, examined samples of the St. Augustine monster that the Smithsonian Institution had preserved. Gennaro published the results of his work in the March 1971 issue of Natural History. After 75 years, the moment of truth was at hand. Viewing section after section of the St. Augustine samples, we decided at once and beyond any doubt that the sample was not whale blubber. Further, the connective tissue pattern was that of broad bands in the plane of the section with equally broad bands arranged.
Let me quote Gennaro directly. Now, differences between... I'll just read it. Now, differences between the contemporary squid and octopus sample became very clear. The octopus, broad bands of fiber passed across the plane of the tissue and were separated by equal broad bands arranged in a perpendicular direction. In the squids, there were narrower but also relatively broad bundles arranged in a plane of the section separated by a thin partition of perpendicular fibers. It seems I have found a means to identifying the mystery sample after all. I could distinguish between octopus and squid and between them and a mammal, which display a lack of network conductive tissue fibers. After 75 years, the moment of truth was at hand. Oh, I guess this is what he was reading. Viewing section after section of the St. Augustine sample, we decided at once and beyond a doubt that the sample was not whale blubber. Further, the connective tissue pattern was that of broad and plane of the section with equally broad bands arranged perpendicularly. Structures similar to, if not identical with, the sample of the octopus. So this guy, cell biologist Gennaro, claimed
perpendicularly
71.
A structure similar to, if not identical with, that in my octopus sample. The evidence appears unmistakable that the St. Augustine sea monster was in fact an octopus, but the implications are fantastic. Even though the sea presents us from time to time with strange and astonishing phenomena, the idea of a gigantic octopus with arms 75 to 100 feet in length and about 18 inches in diameter at the base, a total spread of some 200 feet, is difficult to comprehend.
All right, so that's just kind of a surface level introduction to what globsters are all about. Now, the St. Augustine monster. Okay, hold on. Map time. Map. I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map. I'm the map. There we go. All right, here we go. All right, let me know how well you can see. All right, we got a lot to cover here, but the first thing we're going to do is, okay, so here's St. Augustine right up here, right? I just highlighted St. Augustine Beach because there's not real clear instructions on where along this stretch that the animal washed up on either time that it washed up. So somewhere along this stretch from here down to here, there was a lobster, right? Now, one thing I want to make clear is the Lusca is usually known from the Bahamas, and all these sites here are places that are Lusca sighting places. So to get you in the same sort of frame of reference here, that's how far away regular Lusca sightings are from the St. Augustine monster. That's not to say if it died down here, it couldn't be washed that far north on the Gulf Stream, because that stream, it's like I was always talking about with Japan and New Zealand, it comes rushing through here. So it's completely reasonable that something from the Caribbean region, especially from the Bahamas or the Keys, would end up washed on the shores of the Florida, Georgia, or the Carolinas, any place below the barrier islands. So, with that said, let's dive into the Lusca proper. All right, so to cover the Lusca, I have picked Red River Media, small channel, 672 subscribers. It doesn't look like they've put anything out recently, except for about a year ago was the last time they created anything. But they don't have a whole ton of videos anyway. But they do have a video on the Lusca.
The octopus is a fascinating creature with extraordinary intelligence and agility. It's widely considered one of the most intelligent invertebrates on the planet. With a highly developed nervous system, advanced problem-solving skills, and the ability to learn and remember complex tasks.
Yeah, remember that young Earth creationists think octopus were supposed to have come from space, apparently.
These skills have earned the octopus a reputation as a highly intelligent and adaptable species, with some experts even suggesting that they possess a form of consciousness.
Well, yeah, they're intelligent.
With 8 long and flexible arms, they are able to move quickly and gracefully through the water, propelling themselves forward with powerful jet propulsion. This agility allows them to escape predators and capture prey with ease, making them highly efficient hunters in their underwater.
I love watching octopus mimic other animals, like when they mimic like, did you see that where he was mimicking that fish that was swimming by? Like, watch what he does.
This agility allows them to escape predators and capture prey with ease, making them highly efficient hunters in their underwater.
Turn into the same kind of fish. Like they mimic them. It's crazy.
Water environment. The combination of intelligence and agility makes the octopus a truly remarkable creature and one formidable predator. Now imagine it at 10 times its size. A serious force to be reckoned with.
This is one thing I always hate. I hate when people depict an octopus or a kraken or anything with its mouth like up on its front, because that'd be like having your mouth on top of your head for them. They have one hole, like most animals, one hole, and it's in the middle underneath. Z Frank said something about that. What was it about an animal, or you can always tell how distantly related an animal is or whatever by how hard it is to guess where its butthole is. And yeah, an octopus's butthole and mouth are the same place, you know? It's aliens.
and the accurate description of an elusive cryptid sea monster known as the Lusca.
Now, I do like where, and I said sad about not liking him, they put the mouth on the front. I do like when they have a skull pattern on the top of it. Like the top, they have like a skull pattern or a fake face or just eye spots or something up there. With like maybe a false mouth and false eyes. That looks badass. But they have to have the actual the beak of the octopus, and the venom that's the most terrifying thing about an octopus, is that it's pulling you in. The center of all the tentacles, right? It's pulling you into those. It's consuming you there. And at the middle, there's a terrifying freaking beak. Sharp beak, like a giant parrot beak, that's going to rip you apart. And you know what the best part of that beak is? It's venomous. And yes, every octopus is venomous.
The Bahamas. Known for its pristine white sand beaches, surrounded by an incredible palette of deep blue and turquoise waters. Found in this area are large round cavities known as blue holes.
That is not in the Bahamas. That is Dean's Hole, and that's in Belize. It's the biggest one in the world. It's a big old blue hole. You know what a blue hole is? Maybe I should poll everybody. I could explain it in more detail if we need to. I think he's going to talk about it a bit, but there's a lot of cool factors that come into play. Crap, I didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do was do a poll. All right, I'm gonna let him talk, but if we need to, I can pull up like a wiki or whatever about what a blue hole is, and we can go over it. They're really cool though.
Reaching depths of almost 1,000 feet, each blue hole is an opening to an ancient limestone cave.
Never mind. We get to. I couldn't remember. I watched like 9 Lusca videos before settling on this one. So when I'm picking a video, I usually go for something 15 to 20 minutes. But since I had the 5 minutes of the Globster video, I'm going to balance it out with this.
Cave carved into the ocean floor. These structures, found all over the Bahamas and off Belize, are connected to smaller inland holes called banana holes. Their connection to the sea keeps the salt content of the inland cave system high enough to inhabit certain marine animals. Divers who dare explore them navigate precarious stalagmites and dripstones, even sharks, and some say something far worse.
Oh my gosh, blue holes are so pretty down inside though. All the structure and the wildlife that might be down there. Most troglodytes are tiny. Like most troglodytes are little bitty. In an ocean environment, one would expect this to hold, right? As long as the cave was tight, only small little things can get in there and thrive in there. Something the size of a great white shark is not going to be able to find enough nutrition to survive in a blue hole. So they do find sharks in there, but they're usually like carpet sharks or sharks that lay on the bottom feeders, and they don't necessarily live there permanently. They shelter there. They shelter in the caves where they rest. So 70% of y'all have heard of blue holes. Okay.
Believed to live in these blue and banana holes is the legendary cryptid called the Lusca, also known by other names like Giant Scuttle, Him of the Hands, and Him of the Hairy Hands. Usually described as a giant.
I love Him of the Hairy Hands. That's such a weird name. Ohio has a blue hole? No, it doesn't. Come on. Ohio connected to the ocean. Are you sure? I'm looking it up. Because that's crazy. I know there's some in Florida, but blue hole, freshwater pond in Ohio. So it's not the same kind of blue hole. it has a different. It's close to the lakes though. It has a different origins than the oceanic blue holes. It's like a sinkhole. This is like what you remember Sinkhole Sam, right? We talked about Sinkhole Sam. Sinkhole Sam was up here in Kansas, right here. Big sinkhole. I thought I had it marked on the map. I guess not. I just have the town of Inman marked on the map. Anyway, done with that. Here we go. Another picture of the St. Augustine monster.
Octopus or squid-like creature, up to 80 feet or 24 meters long from its tentacles to its head, making it one of the largest cryptids in the world.
This is the new tagline for Dave's OnlyFan. Ohio is fresh water, but we have a real deep hole. There you go. Subscribe.
Traditional folklore describes the Lusca as half shark, half octopus with powerful sucker-tipped tentacles. A description derived by certain sightings, including one eyewitness account describing the Lusca as a tentacled animal with a pointed head.
So this is actually the model from Sharktopus, which was a sci-fi B movie that's like hilarious. It's like along the lines of Sharknado, you know, they bad acting, poor graphics, and just campy good fun with the cheesiest story you can think of. And I think there might be some boobs. Most of them have boobs in them at some point. There's versions without boobs, of course, because network ratings, but yeah.
Like that of a mako shark. However, they are usually described generically as a very large octopus. The actual size of the giant beast differs by account and by manner of measurement, but it's always agreed to be much larger than an ordinary octopus.
I've dated him of the hairy hands. Oh goodness. Did he explore the blue hole with you? Blue holes and hairy hands. Native atheist gets it.
Most accounts from the Bahamas, the Caicos, and Cuba agree that it's nocturnal, coming to the surface only at night or when it's sick.
There are lava tubes that are very similar to blue holes, though. I just want to say left-handed Jedi, but generally what's considered a blue hole is not a lava tube. They're usually, it's carved out limestone caves carved out by salt, sand, and seawater.
Sick or dying. It's definitely believed to be dangerous to humans and greatly feared for pulling down boats and grabbing fishermen with its long tentacles. Many locals and fishermen in the Caribbean have reported seeing the Lusca and have shared stories about their encounters with this fearsome creature. In a 1970 National Geographic article, a scuba diver with experience in the blue holes of Andros describes stories regaled to him by locals of the Lusca, sinking ships and grabbing fishermen, also stating that the Lusca, or him of the hands, would kill anyone.
Him of the hairy hands. So, the biggest octopus, I believe, in the Atlantic is the common octopus. So let's look at the common octopus. And it's the biggest octopus in most places in the world. Just real quick. We're just going to look at it real quick. Just a quick little glance at its wiki article to see how big it gets. 10-inch, it has about a 10-inch mantle, which is the top part, and then has a 3.3 foot leg span. Or I guess that would be a 6.6 foot leg span because it's arm with mantle with arms up to 3. So yeah, it would actually be, I'd say closer to 10 feet based on these measurements because it's measuring the body at 10 inches and then a 3 foot, 3 arm on each side, sticking out from each side. So that's pretty big. And they weigh about 20 pounds, which cephalopods are light because they don't have any bones. They're usually pretty light. But surprisingly, they can do, they're very sandbaggy. They can do the, you ever try to pick up a toddler, doesn't want to be picked up? They can do that. More than 20,000 tons are harvested annually. Yikes. So, The common octopus has a worldwide distribution in tropical, subtropical, and temperate waters throughout the world. They prefer the floor of relatively shallow, rocky coastal waters, often no deeper than 660 feet. Primarily, the octopus situates itself in a shelter where a minimal amount of its body is presented to the external water, which again, underwater caves are great for this. Blue holes are great for that. The octopus does sometimes swim through the water, exposing itself completely. Well, it has to move about, right? Are we going to talk about giants or anything? He talks about thermoregulation and stuff and reproduction. But yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the monsters. Who wants to get back to monsters?
If they entered the oceanic blue holes. Throughout the 1970s, various articles and documentaries on the blue holes confirmed the local belief that giant monsters called Lusca, or Him of the Hairy Hands, inhabited these sinkholes.
Him of the Hairy Hands.
Over the decades, a number of TV documentaries have sponsored searches for the Lusca. Destination Truth with Josh Gates travelled to Andros in 2009, following press reports of recent Lusca sightings. While exploring a blue hole, the crew filmed something large splashing at the surface of the water, but analysis of the footage could not determine what was responsible.
There's the higher chance of the splashing at the surface is not octopus behavior. Fish could be a lot of different kinds of fish. Dolphins, yeah, we're in the Bahamas, so yeah, definitely could be dolphins, or even manatees. Manatees like to splash around at the surface too. But since we're talking about Andros, let's go to Andros real quick. I want to show you guys something cool about Andros. Okay. So we are now leaving Kansas, moving on the Bahamas. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. Okay, so there's a whole national park here that's called Blue Hole National Park. I believe that's the name of it. It covers all this area right here, right? And there's tons of blue holes scattered around here. Check this out. Here's one. And here's a big one. Look how big this one is. Look at that. We can actually go down there and look. Nope, not that one. That's Cousteau's blue hole, like Jacques Cousteau. There's another one right next to it, too. Look at that. There's another blue hole. They're everywhere. Oh, there's another smaller one right there. Got one right here. Maybe that's just some forest. Hold on. Here's the one I was looking for. More blue holes. They've got dozens of them. There's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one. I think this is the one we can actually drop into. I think. But let's see. Nope. There is one we can drop into. Let me find it. I put hearts by some of them. There's the rainbow blue hole. Can't go to that one either. They don't want us to see the secrets because there's Luscas in the photos that we aren't allowed to see. Maybe it's one of these other ones down here. They're off of Andros that we can drop down into. Oh, there's Dean's blue hole, which I said earlier was in Belize, and I was wrong. It's not in Belize. Dean's the biggest. The one that they showed wasn't Dean's blue hole. I misidentified it as Dean's blue hole. Because Dean's blue hole is not the biggest. It's the biggest in the Bahamas, but not the biggest. Or the biggest I think it's the biggest connected to the ocean at the surface in the Bahamas. But most of them have like little floating platforms or some kind of cool little dock going out to them. I'm glad I zoomed in there so I could correct myself before the end of the show instead of having to do it in post. Overlook blue hole. Check this one out. Let me see them. Why don't you let me explore your blue holes? I did mention earlier that there's one in Belize that's super big. That's this one right here. The Great Blue Hole. This is the one that picture was of. And you can kind of see the ring of it stretch into the horizon here. pretty cool stuff. Blue holes are neat. I like blue holes. I don't believe in Lusca. I do believe in big octopus, though. So
Another search by Jeremy Wade was made on behalf of river monsters in 2016. Wade felt that the way the Pacific octopus swims rather than walks on the seabed could theoretically fool an observer into believing they were seeing a half shark, half octopus.
I can see that, the way that octopus swim, and you've seen it just in the video that we showed earlier. They will mimic other marine organisms in their movement to try to trick you. So a big octopus pretending to be a shark doesn't surprise me. So are there manatees in the Bahamas? Yes, the Caribbean has manatees. Yeah, from the Gulf Coast down to the like Trinidad and Tobago, down to the South American coast. Manatees there's populations throughout that area. What we say? So do orcas, but only if you're a millionaire in a boat. Yeah, orcas are my spirit animal. I'm with you there, Maya.
Combined with the knowledge that a boneless octopus could potentially navigate the tunnels between the blue and banana holes, led Wade to the conclusion that the Lusca could indeed be a giant octopus. Similar rumors come from the northeast coast of Cuba. According to several fishermen, a gigantic octopus is capable of dragging down boats and grabbing.
I didn't even know that there were blue holes, or didn't see any blue holes mentioned in Cuba. Let me see if we can locate them. Cuban blue holes. Blue hole, Cuba. There are several blue holes in Cuba. Or no, that doesn't say Cuba. It says there's several blue holes. What's the deal with the spot? Okay, come on. Great Blue Hole, Belize. Yes, we know that's in Belize. Blue hole in Cuba in 1971. The blue hole in Cuba is a diving spot located near Varadero in Cuba. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Often referred to as Ojo. Alright, whatever. I'm not going to. Let's just put that name in. Maybe we can put that in on the map here. And it will take us right there. Okay. Okay. Is there a blue hole off of it, though? That's what we're looking for. Show us your blue hole. Come on. Don't be afraid, El Mango. El Megano. El Megano? Megano? El Megano, I think it is. Is it gonna, if I type in blue hole, will it find it? Blue hole. No, but it just keeps switching back to El Megano. Anyway, back to the video.
Fishermen with their arms, some with a wingspan of 15 meters or 49 feet. These cephalopods supposedly only come to the surface during moonlit nights, exposing their phosphorescent eyes, and were said to prey on sharks and fight sperm whales.
Now, sperm whales do eat a lot of octopus. They eat squid, octopus, sleeper sharks, anything that's big enough to offer some nourishment in the depths of the ocean. Fortunately, sperm whales cannot fit into blue holes and generally do not frequent the coastal waters in the Caribbean.
Specific theories suggest that the Lusca was a legend inspired by a tidal surge and vortex observed at the mouth of a blue hole. This activity is thought to affect the local currents, and this, combined with the tidal phenomena, can increase water pressure within the blue holes, creating pressurized bubbles powerful enough to suck in any human. But this theory doesn't account for detailed sightings of the Lusca, suggesting instead that sightings of giant cephalopods combined with this tidal phenomena may explain the reason for the legend.
The question is how giant of a cephalopod are you proposing? That's my question. Is there a cave octopus species in the Caribbean that hasn't been discovered yet that's as large as, or maybe even somewhat larger than the Pacific octopus? That is a possibility. Of all places where we could find that seems plausible. A half shark, half octopus. I'm not buying it. An octopus the size of a giant squid. I'm not buying it. I just don't think that the environment that they're talking about these things living in is conducive to something that big thriving in the cave systems. I just don't think it would find enough nourishment. Bree, I get the limestone thing, but why are they circular? Aren't most caverns random shapes? What's the science behind them being circular? Yeah, let's do it. Let's dive. We can dive into that. Hold on. Where was that window? Was it over here? Did I have... Yeah, blue holes. So here, this is the blue hole in Ohio that we were talking about, but we're going to go... There's a blue hole like that in New Mexico, too. This is the one in Ohio, but let's see if there's an explanation for why they're around. Let's go. I don't need to know the one in Cuba anymore. Just stop. I'm done with Cuba. We moved past that. All right. So, description. Blue holes are roughly circular, steep-walled depressions. Okay. Deepest blue hole in the world. Blue holes formed during the past ice age when the sea level was 100 to 120 meters lower than at present. During these times, the formations were exposed to the same erosion from rain and chemical weathering that is common to all limestone-rich terrain. The process ended once the sea level rose at the end of the ice age. Most blue holes contain both fresh water and salt water. The halocline is the boundary surface between the fresh water and the salt water. In these blue holes where a corrosive reaction takes place, they eat away at the rocks. Over time, this can create... So, because there's fresh water at the bottom and seawater at the top, it kind of eats its way down, like straight down. Just because the nature of essentially these would have been like sinkhole or water depressions of fresh water that were on the landform before the sea levels rose, and then once the sea levels rose, the fresh water stayed at the bottom and the seawater came in on top, and then we have this corrosive reaction that they're talking about that eats its way straight down. Over time, this can create side passages or horizontal arms that extend from the vertical cave. These side passages can be quite long, over 2,000 feet in some cases. That's 600 meters in the case of Sawmill Sink in the Bahamas. Blue holes are formed through karst processes that require a specific type of topography. Rocks such as limestone, gypsum, and marble are soluble, and dissolution creates passages and cave systems underwater. This process is combined with doline formations, permits blue holes to be formed. Doline formations were once closed depressions formed by a solution of superficial rock or subsidence collapse into an underground void. Most blue holes are formed through these processes, although some do not show any signs of passages or cave systems as would normally be expected from karst and doline processes. This suggests that some blue holes may be caused by other processes such as vertical reef development Some blue holes do not experience karst or doling processes during their formation. They form through the bedrock dissolution and collapse, usually influenced by tidal forces, carbonate dissolution, sea level fluctuations, and the presence of eogenetic carbonates. So I think there's more to it than that. I think that there's some kind of consistent force. Maybe we just don't understand it yet.
Of the Lusca. Another explanation for the idea that the Lusca drags human victims into the blue holes is the claim that the long-extinct Lucayan people of the Bahamas used the banana and blue holes for human sacrifice, and in this case, divers and fishermen who discover human skeletons in the sinkholes with no context for their presence have helped perpetuate the legends of monsters dwelling in the holes.
That's kind of a cool way to be funeralized. Go ahead and sink me at the bottom of a blue hole. I'll feed an ecosystem for a couple years. Yeah, let's do that. That's the thing too, Logan. Saltwater being more dense than freshwater, and then the saltwater sitting on top of the freshwater, and the freshwater not having anywhere to go, and the saltwater pushing it down. I wonder if that's part of those forces that they were talking about.
The Lusca, though, has sometimes been described as a generic cephalopod rather than an octopus specifically. This has led to the theory that sightings actually refer to the...
I love octopus powers. I want octopus powers. Like, I want to be able to lean up against a rock and be like, and nobody can see me. Lean up against a wall and go, nobody can see me. Vanish like Stephanie Helms does into her background.
Known giant squid, Architeuthis ducks, or some other very
Architeuthis ducks. Architeuthis.
Large squid species, rather than a giant octopus. Giant squids are common in the Caribbean.
That is Photoshop. No giant squid has ever been that big. Ever. Ever.
Their remains are not often found because deceased specimens are devoured and mutilated by sharks. The criticism of this...
Maybe they should not be made out of delicious calamari. That seems like a perfect solution to not getting eaten, is to not be made out of delicious calamari. Just saying.
Theory suggests the alleged habitats of the Lusca would not be attractive to a giant squid, which tends to stay in the pelagic zone or outside the coastal areas in the open ocean, and the fact that a giant squid would not be able to climb up onto a boat. Many cryptozoologists...
Yeah, squids are not built to climb. Octopuses are. Squids are generally pelagic, right? They like to spend their time in open water. Octopuses like crevices and caves and coastlines.
Just have theorized that the Lusca is in fact a gigantic octopus of similar size to the giant squid. No known octopus is officially recorded as reaching such great size. The largest is the giant Pacific octopus of the Pacific Rim, which has an average arm span of 16 feet or 5 meters. The Lusca would perhaps be twice or 3 times this size. However, some aspects of
According to what evidence? What evidence do you have that's twice that size? People just seeing giant arms sticking out of crevices in the rocks does not make them 90 feet. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
Description are indeed more reminiscent of an octopus rather than a squid. The reported habitats of the Lusca do fit the usual octopus biotope. An octopus is prone to walk on the seafloor and would thus be at home in sinkholes and flooded caverns. The
octopus are literally cave species for the most part. Like common octopus and the giant Pacific octopus, they're troglodytes. They like caves and crevices.
Octopus is also made up of 2 main groups: the incirrate, containing most of the well-known varieties, and the cirrate, which are noted for the large fins present on the head and the head.
Because they're pelagic too. They live in open water, so they have to be able to flutter around and swim, where octopus need to be able to grapple around and climb. And they can swim, but when they swim, it's different. And they don't swim as fast as the squids or the these other kinds of octopuses, right? Octopus kind. You know, there's no octopus kind because they came from space after the flood. Speaking of the flood, stick around because we got some Noah stuff coming up after that.
Hair-like follicles fringing their suckers, hence the name Him of the Hairy Hands. The presence of fins might explain why the Lusca is sometimes compared to a squid rather than an octopus, as squids do possess small side fins.
I don't think something that lives in a cephalopod that lives in the blue holes or in subterranean caves or any of that is gonna benefit from having fins on its side. I just think that being like finless would probably be a better way to navigate those environments.
Fins. The Pacific sirate octopus, however, preys mainly on the spiny lobsters that gather in great numbers in the Caribbean Sea, and which, like the Lusca, is both nocturnal and an inhabitant of the blue holes.
Right.
For now, the Lusca still remains a mystery of the deep, but the fact that the cave systems beneath the blue holes where the Lusca lives are still largely unexplored means that the continued debate amongst scientists and enthusiasts about the existence of the Lusca might soon be laid to rest with the discovery of a real specimen.
Like if they discovered it, wouldn't be discovering a Lusca, right? It would no longer be an Lusca. It would be a giant Atlantic octopus, right? Or giant Caribbean octopus, maybe. You want to be born a vampire squid.
That concludes this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed,
you could be born a vampire squid, and then I could be reborn a Dumbo octopus, and we could be freaking the queens of the deep. I'm here for it. All right, back to my maps. Okay, so yeah, blue holes everywhere. Key West, blue hole. I think this one we might actually be able to go down to as well. Maybe, baby. Yep. Doom, doom, doom. This is in Key West. Oh, look at that. Guess who lives in a blue hole? Not an octopus. What is that? What is this beastie? This beast of the blue hole. What is that? You know, suspicious much? Just for context. All right. That was the last piece I wanted to show you guys, so... Right, this has been Cryptic Corner, the Lusca and the St. Augustine monster, giant octopuses in the Caribbean. What do you guys think? Are there giant octopuses that creep and crawl in blue holes and underwater caves throughout the Caribbean, grabbing people and apparently ships and pulling them down? Right? Are divers actually encountering a new species of octopus in these recesses, or are they having experiences with known species of octopus in a closed environment and scaring themselves into thinking it's a giant? Yeah, you tell me in the comments down below. I'm I'm thrilled to hear what everybody has to say about this. In the meantime, please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, live from the Hive audience. Don't go anywhere. First of all, I'm brightening it back up in here. It's kind of gloomy. Bright, bright, bright. Back into the sunshine. Move, guitar. There we go. Back into the sunshine we go. There we are. Beautiful. All right. All right, so thank you guys for sticking with me through this installment of Cryptic Corner. Was back and forth on saving this one for summer, but it's always summer in the Bahamas. Anyway, I will be back. I'm gonna go refresh my coffee. I'm gonna play a little intermission. I think the intermission might be too short to make it through the coffee, but if it is, It is. But I will be back in just a minute, and we're going to Florida, so we're not traveling far from where we were. So just hang with me, and we'll get there. All right, I'll be back. All right, my beauties and bees, welcome back. Thank you so much for giving me a minute there. I got to my coffee and there was so little left in it that it was burned. So now I have a cup of like burned coffee. Ugh. So I got a cup of water instead to kind of hold me over. My throat's still from the burned coffee. Oh, I don't know if you all know what that taste that comes into your throat. Oh, it's the worst. Anyway, welcome back to the show, and we are about to get really weird with really weird with Noah's Ark, because apparently Noah was a Florida man. Who knew? Let me show you. Yeah, okay, so this is a channel called Old World Florida. We've been to Florida already today, because this was the Lusca episode too. But this is Old World Florida. It's one of these hidden history pages. The hidden history of Florida and the Old World, brought to you by the Florida Department of Magic with a K. Department of Magic. That's how you know it's not pretend magic like stage magic, but real magic like witchcraft. And they have a lot of videos covering a lot of topics about weird stuff in Florida, including giant trees, Tampa Bay uncovered, underground city, and Garden of Eden. Do my Tampa followers know that they're in the Garden of Eden? Do you all realize that you are in Eden right now? Florida's World Fair. Oh, we got some Jordan B. Peterson to start things off 2 years ago for male enhancement. Europeans in ancient Florida. Astrology of Florida. The Miami Circle. We might have to explore that. I don't know. That could be interesting. Yeah. Extreme Florida man fights sea creature. Oh boy. Ancient Israelites of Florida, the Florida Everglades. But recently they put out this video, which is about Noah's Ark. 100% proof, it says. 100% proof that Noah's Ark departed from the Americas, specifically Florida. Northern Florida, but Florida nonetheless. Let's dig in, Hive.
But serious biblical archaeologists,
No.
in addition to the flood described in the Bible, there are over 200 ancient cultures around the world which retain some version of a flood myth. Swiss psychologist Carl Jung believed that a memory of the flood was stored inside the mind of every man and woman on Earth.
Yeah, but Young was kind of a... I mean, if you want to... Young has some good ideas. But, I mean, that we have a folk memory of... Or not folk memory, what would you call it? Like an epigenetic memory of floods? Why not? I mean, surely we've all had ancestors at one point or another that experienced a catastrophic flood.
Via the collective unconscious. The vast majority of these flood myths,
All biblical archaeology is serious. Even you can ask Ron Wyatt.
closely mirror the story of Noah's Ark. Most people have been taught where Noah's Ark is said to have.
Right, exactly. This person's like pagan or whatever because they're using the magic with the K, doing Bible stuff. I wish that if he's going to do this, that he could at least, instead of saying Noah, say Utnapishtim, because that's the oldest version of the story, right? Noah is the Christian, just the Christian name for the character that was rewritten into their myths. So the oldest version should be the one that we go with, right? With as far as the name and stuff. So let's go with Utnapishtim instead of Noah. Makes sense with all the math. Noah wouldn't have to carry much food. I live off lettuce and Homosa sprigs. I think it's supposed to be sprigs.
But have you ever wondered where Noah's Ark actually departed from? The book of Genesis tells us that the ark came to rest in the mountains of Ararat.
I'm loving the Gregorian stuff you got going in the background here, Florida man. Love it.
Near the borders of modern-day Turkey, Armenia, and Iraq. But nowhere is it specified in the Bible where the ark was constructed, nor where it was launched. Since
Florida. It was launched in Florida, don't you know?
Noah's Ark landed in Eurasia, many people have foolishly assumed that it must have launched from that same continent, entirely discounting the Western Hemisphere. Others have ignorantly assumed that the world was entirely reshaped by the flood, so there is no point in searching anywhere. However, the archaeological...
I think that's biblical that the ark, or that the world changed from after Noah's flood, right? That the world was reshaped. That's canon. As a matter of fact, as far as young Earth creationists go, it's actually required for their explanation of why the continents are where they are and all that. That I believe the way that it's presented is that there was one landmass. You're not a Tampanian, Sumami. You're an Edenian, a person from Eden. I don't know. You live in an Eden. Congratulations. You are Eve, like 6.0.
And anthropological evidence, along with the time frame given in the book of Genesis, clearly indicate otherwise. For starters,
I like how they put this big spoiler on the front. Like, what the fuck is that?
The Bible tells us that Noah constructed the ark out of gopher wood, and gopher wood cannot be found in Eurasia or Africa. Gopher wood only grows in Florida, along the state line with Georgia.
Oh, goodness. Yes, this is true. The fact that it's called gopher wood, it's calling it gopher wood is a little bit of a play on words, I guess. It's a plant called, here, actually, you know what? I'll just bring it right over. Torreya taxifolia. Torreya taxifolia, commonly known as the Florida torreya or stinking cedar, but also sometimes as the Florida nutmeg or gopher wood. So this is people ad hocing the name gopher wood onto this plant. And as far as its applications, it's rare and endangered, right? There aren't very many of them left. But there's, like, as far as building materials, only very small things could be made with it, like fence posts and stuff. It's a fir tree, but it grows about, they can go pretty big, like 30 feet, but like not enough for heavy construction material. And it's not necessarily strong enough for heavy construction material either. And it has a cedary smell. That's why it's sometimes called, cedar, but or stinking cedar. It's mostly like if people harvested it, and even in shipbuilding, they had it there and did not use it. They used it for fuel to fuel the engines in their steamships, but they did not use it to build anything. If it was actually good building material, I'm gonna press X to doubt on that one. All right. Go for wood. Go for wood. Yeah, that's what Yahweh was saying. He told Noah to go for wood, and people thought he said go for wood. Edenite. There you go. Yeah, Sumami the Edenite. That sounds like a comic book. I want it. What native atheists have that you want? I prefer the magic bus. I don't know.
Believe it or not,
sorry.
the word gopher itself is exclusive to ancient Hebrew and the Muskogee language, spoken by
this is big part of this guy's grift, right? He's the Muskogee language, and is a derivative of the ancient Israeli languages.
Indians of Florida. Then there is the fact that many of the animals believed to have been transported by Noah's Ark, which today inhabit Eurasia and Africa, actually originated in the Americas. Take, for example, the horse, zebra...
Okay, hold on. So the first horse evolved in North America 55 million years ago. This is true. And horses migrated across Beringia into the Old World, and unfortunately they died out at the end of the Pleistocene. Same as almost all the megafauna of North America. The species, the megafauna that live in North America now, like in the northern parts and stuff, were actually the smaller southern relatives of the species that lived up there. But unfortunately, no horses made it through.
Camel, cheetah, tapir, and monkey.
We'll get into
Some
those.
of these animals disappeared entirely from the archaeological record of prehistoric America, only to reappear in Eurasia and Africa a mere few thousand years ago, completely in line.
That is not true. Horses and zebras, all these animals have a robust evolutionary history over the last, few tens of thousands of years. The equids did not just move to the Eurasian continent 4,000 years ago. We have cave paintings in Africa with zebras and asses. We have cave paintings in Europe of wild horses that are, 30,000+ years old. What the hell are you talking about? Archaeological evidence of horse domestication dates from 4000 BC in the Eurasian stuff. Yeah, because this is a misrepresentation of the information, right? So you talk about domestication of the horses. Yeah, 4000 BC, that's it. That really is it. But does not mean horses didn't appear in Eurasia until then, or in Africa until then. They've been there. There were non-domesticated species of horses, like asses and zebra.
The story of Noah's Ark. It is from that point onward that the recorded history of civilization uncoincidentally begins, or rather, picks up.
No, zebras did not come from the Americas. Zebras evolved in Africa from a more primitive horse ancestor that came from North America. But you're talking millions of years ago, right? The connection between North America and in Asia, for most of history, they've been two connected continents. No two continents have been more married than North America and Asia. That's why they share so much of their biological organisms, right? That's why they share so much faunal crossover, because they have been Eurasia and North America were basically one landmass for most of since Pangea, I want to say, yeah, since Pangea. So the equid line originated on the North American side, but it definitely migrated to Eurasia and into Africa after that, well before there was a species that we would call human on the face of the earth, right? Zebras were well established in Africa before, or by the time like Australopiths came around, right? And there were other equid or similarly related organisms as well.
Again, even mainstream historians and secular archaeologists now concede that the horse, the wheel, the arts, sciences, and agricultural civilization as a whole seemingly appeared out of nowhere near the Black Sea in a semi-nomadic state long before.
And he just skips over it saying 10,000 years ago instead of the 6,000 years ago that they generally say.
Before they were permanently introduced to the lands today known as.
I do like this map though. I really do. We got goats. Now this only shows the Middle East, or the Mesopotamian, I guess, Fertile Crescent region of it, right? But there was a similar activity going on in China, and a bit later in Central America with domestication as well. But I really like this. I'd like to see one like this of the other areas too, because you got cattle up in here in ancient Anatolia with wheat and rye. You got sheep up here. You got the Pontic Mountains. You got pigs, sheep, goats. Really cool. Yeah, Mesopotamia, cattle, sheep, goats. Goats down here, and like down here is the land of Canaan. I guess that's more down here. Oh, that's the Sinai Peninsula. You kind of know where we're at. Yeah, anyway.
Mesopotamia.
I'm done fangirling over the map, sorry. Is the host implying horses taught humans written language? I hope so. Or am I the host?
Yeah. In addition to anomalous boat-shaped formations located in the mountains of Ararat, evidence for the landing spot of Noah's Ark in Asia Minor includes the Arzap Drogestones, a collection of ancient megalithic ship anchors consistent with a 500-foot boat. The only place on Earth.
The Ark was not a boat. The Ark was a box. with cubed dimensions, with exactly cubed dimensions. So it was literally a box tumbling in the sea.
That stone anchors of this magnitude can be found by the thousands is Florida. It will be shown in this presentation, through these evidences and many others, that Noah's Ark was indeed constructed in the state of Florida, and therefrom departed to Eurasia. The views expressed in this video do not necessarily reflect my own. Now enjoy.
Welcome to Florida, baby.
Oh, that was just the intro. 4-minute intro. Damn. We're going to be on a long time on this one, guys.
Part 1. Gopherwood. The first factor to address when seriously approaching the construction of Noah's Ark would have to be the material from which it was constructed. Genesis chapter 6, verse 14 reads as follows, quote, "Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch." End quote. The mysterious gopher wood being
Yeah, gopher wood is basically, it's like unobtainium. It's like vibranium. It's like kryptonite. It's like adamantium. It's this mystical. It's mithril. I don't care whatever fantasy world that you're part of. It's what's the Star Wars Beskar? It's Beskar. It's a magical substance that you can make something out of that makes it basically able to survive an apocalypse, right? If you make yourself a box out of this adamantium, wood, Beskar, mithril stuff, you will be safe from the flood, says God to Noah. So build it out of this. And he does that. But they're going to claim, well,
being referred to has never since been identified in Eurasia, indicating it must have been harvested in some other continent or lost to the flood altogether. The English term gopherwood is a direct transliteration of the Hebrew word gopher or kopher, used only a single time in the entire Bible. In the absence of such a wood, some scholars have defined the word to simply mean pitched wood.
Remember that channel we had that said it was like they went to North America and cut down giant sequoias and brought them back to build the temple, or to build the temple in Israel
Of any type.
Like I had Megan with me when we heard that. Megan from Digital Hammurabi.
Although this definition would render God's separate instructions to pitch the ark a bit redundant. Others believe the Hebrew word gopher is one and the same with the English words.
He does not look 700 years old. There's no way that cartoon character is supposed to represent a 700-year-old man hammering away on that. The Hebrew word kopher is a masculine noun that means cover. It can have multiple meanings, including village, a literal meaning referring to a village that is covered. Bitumen, a specific meaning referring to bitumen that is used for coating. Henna plant, a specific meaning referring to a henna plant that is used for dyeing. Redemption price, a figurative meaning referring to a redemption price, bribe, campfire, pitch, ransom, satisfaction, sum of money, or village. In the Bible, copper is used to refer to pitch used to seal Noah's Ark. The basic meaning of copper in this context is covering. So covering wood. Okay.
Cover, coffer, and coffin, meaning a covering of wood, because it is generally thought that the ark was covered over, almost like a submarine, to withstand the possibility of waves cresting over its bow. Genesis chapter 6, verse 16 reads as follows, quote, "A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above, and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower second, and third stories shalt thou make it. End quote. If we are to take that verse,
the Bible says, why aren't they using the source material instead of the fanfic, right? Why aren't they reading Gilgamesh so we can learn how Utnapishtim built his ark? So Noah was Native American. Apparently all people are Native American, according to this mythology. Like, people originated in North America. Tampa was the Garden of Eden.
As the evidence that the ark
All humanity starts in Florida here in this mythology.
Had a roof. The covering of the ark with covering wood would also seem a bit redundant. The most prevalent and likely opinion held by biblical scholars is that the identity of Gopherwood was simply lost to time or devastation from the flood. Such would certainly be the case if the ark had indeed drifted from the Americas to Eurasia. This would remain a mystery until the rediscovery and European settlement of the Americas. Not many people are aware that there is an endangered tree native to Florida and South Georgia, which has long been known as gopherwood.
Its modern name is gopherwood. It's a modern name that people have decided to name it post hoc.
In his book entitled In the Beginning, Florida's 1936 Republican candidate for governor, L.V. Edison Callaway, not only asserted that Florida was the original Garden of Eden due to the presence of Earth's only equal four-headed river system and an idea.
What are you talking about? Okay, so the Pison River is the Chattahoochee. Fish Pond Creek River is the Hiddekill River. The Euphrates River is Spring Creek River. The Junon River is the Flint River. Okay.
Ideal climate.
Like what?
But also that Noah's Ark had therefrom been constructed out of
Ooh,
the
I like that they put pasties on Eve. Give her some pasties.
local wood known as gopherwood, which only grows along that same four-headed river system in Florida's Apalachicola River Valley. The following is an interview with Callaway, conducted in 1972 by Diane Hoffman for WFSU.
The key to Eden is gopher.
All right, now we're going to get into some of this guy's mythology, this Callaway guy. And he's a creationist author. I wonder if Hovind knows how close he is to the actual Garden of Eden down there in Alabama.
The Torreya evergreen. Make thee an ark of gopher wood, said the Lord to Noah, and gopher wood grows only in this park. The tree produces a buoyant wood that would be suitable for the building of an ark.
The gopher wood is not suitable for for construction of anything of that size. It's not. If it was a good shipbuilding material, they would have been making ships out of it during the Age of Exploration. They didn't. They literally used it as fuel and made their ships out of other stuff because it was useful as fuel to burn, but not so much for building.
Logs of petrified gopher wood, which Callaway discovered here, he said, were sawed off good and smooth, just like a chainsaw would have done.
The tree life from Chattahoochee to
Truth, Noah had a chainsaw. Noah had a chainsaw, y'all.
Bristol is the largest of any other area in the world. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many more, including the gopherwood tree. Noah built the ark out of gopherwood, which...
He's got that boss hog accent. I mean, as much as I think what he's saying is nonsense and BS, I could listen to him tell stories in that accent for hours.
God selected himself for him to build it out of.
Is this the only place that
This is the only place on this earth where it has ever grown. It's the most peculiar wood on earth. You can take a piece of it the size of this match when it's green. You can't break it. You can twist it and turn it. It's the lightest wood on earth.
It is not the lightest wood on earth. It is the rarest wood in North America, though. Let's see. I still have that pulled up here. Let's see what this says about it. Taxonomy and naming, type, species, and genus. Description, technical description. Evergreen tree that may reach a height of 59 feet with a 31-inch diameter trunk. That's 80 centimeters diameter and 18 meters tall. Although it typically grew 30 to 39 feet, that's 9 to 12 meters tall, and 30 to 50 centimeters or 12 to 20 inches in diameter. And most stands today are composed of immature trees of less than 3 meters, 9.8 feet tall. The crown is open and conical in overall shape and with whorled branches. These branches are spreading to slightly drooping. The bark of 2-year-old branches are colored greenish yellow, yellowish green. I said that backwards. Yellowish brown or gray. On mature trees, the bark is only about 0.5 inches. That's 1.3 centimeters thick, and is irregularly divided into shallow fissures. The stiff needle-like leaves are sharp to the touch and arranged in 2 ranks on the branches. So you can see them right here. The leaves are glossy. Okay, I want to hear more about the wood, though. The leaves have a unpleasant, strong, pungent, resinous odor when crushed. Subdeciduous. Okay. With separate male and female plants that may, however, include branches bearing cones of the opposite sex. So these are non-binary trees. Sweet. Male cones appear in the axial of the needles of the from the prior year, while female, okay, that's not talking about the wood either. Mature about 18 months. Do I want to hear about the wood? There's like hardly anything here about the wood because this isn't a construction plant. Species within the Torreya genus are all adapted to establish and grow slowly as sub-canopy woody plants in a forest habitat of moderately dense shade. In this way, the leaf structure and growth habit resemble species of yew in the yew genus Taxus, which is a close relative. So they're close relatives of the yew tree. Stems will lean in very shady conditions. Okay. Ecological niche, distribution, wild population. Prehistoric distribution. So these used to be a lot wider spread. It's like, oh, that's the only place they've ever grown. They used to grow all over North America. I mean, yeah, the northern hemisphere. But today, the location entails the entirety of the native range of the Torreya taxifolia, thus making it paleo-endemic. Yeah, there was even species in California, on the California coast, but so his claim that it was the only place it ever grew is not true, and that's cited. Yeah. All right. So anyway, back to the video. Let's hear what else he has to say.
I have had its fibers, its structure, its every phase of it chemically analyzed. There's no other wood on earth like it. It's the lightest. And Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torreya State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ayr, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice. When
what ice? on Mount Ararat. I think that the mountain's pretty well explored. I don't think there's any ice on it. What's he talking about? Is there a glacier on Ararat? I don't think so.
The idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was somewhere else or over in Europe or in Africa or someplace over there. The Western Hemisphere was unknown. They did not know that the continent existed west of the Atlantic Ocean. Therefore, they couldn't search this continent along with the others to find the River of Four Heads and these other great natural monuments which the Bible said was related to the Garden of Eden.
I guess it does have a snow cap. It's glaciated. Yeah, I pulled it up on the map here, so I do see it's snow capped. Definitely. And I'm assuming he's saying it's buried some. Oh, is that it right there? That must be it. I think that's the Ark. Right?
Came my pleasure and my responsibility and my duty to search the North American continent and definitely point out the same bare natural monuments that the Bible relates.
Through no fault of his own, Calloway surprisingly made zero mention of the etymology for gopherwood in his 1966 book. Believe it or not, the English word gopher actually comes from the Muskogee language spoken by the Indians of Florida. Okay. The Muskogee word was used as the name for the gopher tortoise and related to the Choctaw word kofasa, meaning a hollow or excavation, either due to the fact that
That's fine. This is all fine. No problem with this etymology.
They dig extensive burrows, or that their shell is hollow. The rodent gopher likely received its name due to the fact that it also burrows. The fact that the word gopher is exclusive to ancient Hebrew and native Floridian languages,
with different meanings. One, the Muskogee word meaning burrowing, and the Hebrew word kofar, which means to cover. Not that's not an etymological alignment.
On its own, ought to serve as a nail in the coffin for the Levantine-centric propaganda that most of us learned in Sunday school. Seminole Indians of Florida even used the word gopher as a title and family name.
He's talking about the NAMI site now, which we know was staged by the Hong Kong team.
It's worth noting that many prominent Seminole Indians had other Hebrew names like Ahaya, Bolek, Moses, Abraham, Jacob, Elijah.
Show me proof that any of these names existed in pre-contact North America, among any people groups.
Adam, Samuel, Isaac, Miko, Benjamin, and even Noah.
There's somebody named You're telling me there was a Seminole Indian named Benjamin? Well, I guess Seminole's not. So that's the thing about Seminoles, aren't even like a ancient tribe or anything. The Seminoles were made up of a coalition of scattered people from destroyed nations, from conquered nations that took refuge in Florida, all the way from North Carolina, from I think there were lineages from across the South and the Caribbean that all contributed to what we call a Seminole Indian, and I believe they had African slave ancestry as well. So the Seminoles aren't an ancient people. The Seminoles were I don't know how you describe it, like a refugee people, like eking out an existence in like northern coastal Florida.
Let it be known that Christopher Columbus himself noticed Hebrew words being used by Native Americans in the 15th century, as did James Robert Adair.
Do you want to believe what Christopher Columbus says about anything?
Who lived...
Dude saw mermaids, you know that, right? He talked about them. He talked extensively about his experience with mermaids. Just gonna throw that out there.
Among tribes of the American Southeast from 1735 to 1775, and even married a member. Linguistic links were also noted by numerous Jewish settlers and rabbis in colonial America. If you'd like to take a deep dive on the hidden Jewish history of Florida and ancient America,
I gotta show this to Dapper and see what he thinks, but to me this seems like linguistic pareidolia. I mean, just looking at them, at the comparisons between the languages.
Go check out my video of that title. Here are just a few examples. The word Miami, which roughly translates to people of the water, in the languages of 3 separate American Indian groups, spreading from Ohio to Florida, holds a nearly identical meaning in Hebrew. The Hebrew words ish and ishto, meaning man and woman, have the exact same meaning as the native Floridian words ish and ishto, which some tribes pronounced as iste. There must also be a link between
we got Ishtar now. Ishtar.
the ancient Semitic deity Ishtar and the Native American deity Ishtaholo. Biblical Hebrew had no exact word for ocean, so Israelites adopted the Greek word okeanos, from which we get the root word oki and the English word ocean with a C. It should not surprise us to find that the native Floridian root word of oki.
So that you just acknowledged that it was a Greek word, not a Hebrew word. And now you're reverse engineering it. The pre-flood Floridians speak Greek or ancient Hebrew, I wonder.
As found in Lake Okeechobee, translates to water in the Muskogee language. Thus we can see a link between the ancient Greek deity Okeanos and the Native American deity Okeus. The word for winter,
Okeus.
Kora, is the same in both Hebrew and Native Floridian. Words similar
You keep saying native Floridian. You know how many different tribes there were in Florida, my dude? You know how big Florida is? You know how many different cultures existed in Florida over thousands of years that people have lived there? Tens of thousands of years that people have lived in Florida. Do you know how many robust and diverse cultures with history and language of their own exist within the land that we now call Florida? Jesus.
to the Hebrew Ararat were even used by American Indians to describe the tallest mountains in the area. Take, for example, Mount Ararat in Virginia, known to the natives as rat, rat, rat. The list of Hebrew words
It's known as rat, 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 and you think that's the same word. Can't make this stuff up, folks.
used by Native Americans goes on and on and on. It suffices to say that the word gopher has been in America all along. Florida's gopherwood was first taxonomically cataloged in 1833 by Hardy Bryan Croom, a relative of my good friend Jeffrey Croom, near the Apalachicola River. Croom named
Right, it was recently discovered and named, right? So you're acknowledging that it was named in modern times as gopherwood, right? You're acknowledging that, right? That's a modern name given to it, because people didn't know about it before that, at least not modern science. There wasn't any classification or name for it. Thinking cedar, you just lean into the gopherwood because it fits the story you're trying to build.
it Torreya taxifolia, after Dr. John Torrey, the first person to confirm that it was a
Right? It doesn't make any sense, Ember. Did the Native Americans survive the flood and stay in Florida? So, of all places that survived the flood, Florida? Florida's not even going to survive climate change, let alone a global flood.
distinct species. How or when Florida's gopherwood first officially received its name is unknown, but it may have been used as a deterrent against gophers and other rodents. The Florida gopherwood tree is well known for its
That sounds most likely, because cedar It's called stinking cedar, and cedar and other similar pungent woods, or aromatic woods, I guess you'd say. I don't necessarily call cedar pungent. Some trees are pungent. But being used to create like boxes and stuff to keep rodents out. And the rodents that you're talking about, gophers, sure.
Very distinct smell, which earned it the nickname of stinking cedar. It is a well-known fact that strong-smelling woods, such as cedar, are used to affect
Chitimacha and Huma tribe here. Okay, cool, PC. Chitimacha tribe is the only Louisiana tribe to retain a portion of its ancestral land. Well, that's good. I thought only Noah and his family survived the flood, right, Native Atheists? This is getting very convoluted. From slaves who fled to Florida, yes. Yeah. But, because when they first started establishing like plantation lands in the South, right, they used Native American slaves before the slave trade really took off. Once the tobacco, I think it was tobacco. It was tobacco before cotton, right? Once the tobacco industry took, so they started off with sugarcane, but sugarcane grew in the Caribbean. What they grew in the South first was the tobacco. Then cotton became a key industry. I'm trying to remember it all, but yeah. I like how he's using Chat GPT answers to make his argument, though.
Actively repel gophers, and Florida gopherwood is said to have an even stronger scent than cedar. As a matter of fact, gophers are native to North and Central America, but found nowhere else in the world. Let it be known that Florida is...
But did you see that map that said they weren't found in Florida, though? Look at that. No gophers in Florida. What's up with that?
But found nowhere else in the world. Let it be known that Florida is also the primary habitat for the gopher apple, gopher tortoise,
okay,
gopher beetle,
sure,
and gopher fly.
Okay.
All
I'm here
of
for
which
it.
are endemic to the southeasternmost United States.
Okay. Cool. So they survived the flood there too, huh? Did they survive the flood in Florida? Did gopher tortoises, did they eke out an existence? Did they build a subterranean underground network of tunnels that protected them from the floodwater? How did this work? Since they're still endemic to the area, how did it work?
Part 2. Animals on the Ark.
Ooh, here we go. This is
Now
where
that we
Bree's gonna
have
have fun.
identified the material from which the Ark was constructed, the next component necessary...
Correct, Ember, but not the gopher. The gopher is not from Florida, because they generally like higher elevations where they can dig without running into groundwater.
to show that Noah's Ark could have departed from Florida to Eurasia would have to be the animals which it contained.
Oh, here we go.
As mentioned earlier, the archaeological record shows that the horse, turtle...
Okay.
As mentioned earlier, the archaeological record shows that the horse...
Okay, the horse 55 million years ago, right? And its migration to Asia was also millions of years ago. Please keep that in mind.
Turtle.
When turtles evolved, well, sea turtles specifically, because if you look right here, it says the earliest known sea turtles fossils. Now, sea turtles are known from, as like a lot of Mesozoic sea creatures are known from the region that was called the Western Interior Seaway. The Western Interior Seaway is where we find things like plesiosaurs, ichthyosaurs, mosasaurs, yes, and sea turtles, sharks, and corals. Yes, sea turtles, mate.
zebra.
And the zebra here, I just want to make sure that we understand that he's ad hocing zebra on here too, because zebra and horse have the same ancestry coming from North America and have about the same time frame. It even says here the earliest members of Equus, the genus which includes zebras and horses and asses, dates back 54 million years. Yeah, so it's given the same answer twice. Just he's saying horses and then zebra to make it seem like, oh, there's more than that. Zebras, there were no zebras in North America ever, right? A common ancestor, the Hagerman's horse, was not the modern zebra. Zebras have genetics. All equids have genetics for certain body stripes, right?
Camel, cheetah.
Camels are from North America, right? Let me go.
Shows that the horse, turtle, zebra, camel.
All right, camel. Yes, the camel family originated in North America. That's why we have and again, we're talking camelids, not like modern camels, not like dromedaries and Bactrian camels. We're talking a lot of ancient camels. Camels used to be fill a niche of everything from like small antelope-sized camels to giant elephant-sized camels. Okay, they were, or I shouldn't say elephant-sized, maybe giraffe-sized would be better, but they were a lot heavier than a giraffe, somewhere between the size of a giraffe and a rhino. But they were big. They were gigantic camels. And there were little bitty ones that were like gazelle-sized. And then some of them went south when the isthmus closed between North and South America and led us to our modern-day alpacas and llamas. But they did go extinct in North America.
Cheetah.
All right. Now, this is just straight up misinformation here. Okay. What we call the American cheetah, Micrionix, is not the same species as the cheetahs that live in Africa today. The oldest cheetah fossils even says right here, the oldest cheetah fossils are from eastern and southeastern Africa, but fossils of American cheetah have been found in North America, which is a different species that filled the same niche and may have been closely related to cheetahs and pumas, right? But it's not the same species. Around 100,000 years ago, cheetahs migrated from North America to Asia and Europe and Africa across the Bering Land Bridge.
Tapir.
All right. Now, tapirs first appeared in North America during the late Miocene. The oldest known tapir fossils species is Tapirus webbi. Now, during the Miocene, Asia and North America were connected over and over again during this time period.
Monkey. And
all right, here, monkey. Now, this is really stretching it because when you talk about monkeys, this is not saying monkeys, it's saying primates. Primates originated in North America. Surprise! Yeah, they were little bitty, like tree shrew and tarsier sized primates. They weren't monkeys. They were adapiforms, and Plesiadapis came from North America. That's one of the earliest primates. But no, monkeys did not come from North America. Monkeys came around well after the North American primates were extinct. Like, what? Even the ones that live in South America didn't come from North America. They came from Africa.
Many other species all had their official genesis in the Americas.
What do you mean official genesis? The speciation events that occurred, that some species evolved in the Western Interior Seaway, that a lot of animals that spanned the Mammoth Steppe that ranged from Nova Scotia to Great Britain, that was just the habitat of all these large browsing animals. The Mammoth Steppe stretched really far.
However, some of these animals disappeared entirely from prehistoric America, only to reappear in Eurasia and Africa a mere few thousand years ago, completely
No. There's a fossil record of all the species that you just covered going back millions of years in Eurasia. They didn't suddenly appear in Eurasia within modern times or within historic times.
in line with the story of Noah's Ark. Let us take, for example, the horse, as it is perhaps the best indicator of mankind's technological
I do love me some horses. Let's do it.
advancement. Not many people are aware that the horse was present in the southeast United States since the Eocene epoch, or roughly 55 million years ago.
No, not roughly 50. Jesus, 55 million years ago is right after the dinosaurs died. I guess there could have been little. It would have been a common ancestor of horses and tapirs that existed during this time frame. Not like modern horses that would have like multiple toes and.
The archaeological records show that the horse entirely disappeared from America at the end of the Ice Age, only to suddenly...
It's so weird to say at the end of the Ice Age, the end of the last glacial maximum, right? Ice Age wasn't just like one event. It was multiple events over millions of years. But the last glacial maximum, because we're technically still in the Ice Age now. As long as there's ice on the poles, we're in an Ice Age.
Reappear in Eurasia, specifically near the Black Sea, at a state of near domestication.
They did not just reappear. What are you talking about? No, that's not what happened. They did not reappear in North America. They migrated to North America, they did not reappear in Asia. They domesticated. They existed for millions of years. We have, again, cave paintings and bones and middens from all around the world, or all around the steppes of Asia and Europe, that shows that ancient people had a staple diet of horses for hundreds of thousands of years. What are you talking about? They suddenly reappeared in domesticated form in Europe. No.
Only 6,000 years ago.
What the hell? Stop being weird. That's not true. They did not just appear like this. They did die out in North America at the end of the last Ice Age, and then they continued to thrive in Eurasia and Africa. Just basically until modern times, because we still have like the Peralski horse, zebras, and wild asses. So they're still there. There's a straight lineage of non-domesticated horses that you can see. Jesus.
It is today quite common for amateurs and hobbyists to find the remains of prehistoric horses all across Florida.
Yeah? It is. I don't see what the point of that... I don't see what kind of point you're making here. Besides just giving time frames that just don't match up with what you're talking about. 2.2 to 10,000 years ago. You're talking about a flood that was 6,000 years ago.
This brings us to another great...
How come you didn't cover these titties up with pasties? She's got her whole cooter out, too. You just like letting it fly.
...proponent for the Garden of Eden in America theory. In his 1901 book entitled The Garden of Eden and the Flood, Methodist bishop and Confederate superintendent John C. Keener not only argued that the Southeast United...
Confederate superintendent. This was the religious leader of the Confederate nation. And he wanted to tell everybody that the Garden of Eden was in Dixie. Yeah.
United States was the Garden of Eden, but also that Noah's Ark had departed from there, as evidenced by the fossilized remains of prehistoric animals from South Carolina to Florida. Quote, "Wherever Eden was originally planted, it is now certain that in America are found fossilized remains far more varied and extensive than have as yet been discovered in either Europe, Asia, or Africa."
I'm going to stop the quote right there just to say, oh, thank you. Yeah, I got in pigtails today. I felt cute. That is to say, at this time, maybe they hadn't found horses and stuff, and I don't even. That's not even true. What this guy's saying here isn't even true. They had found fossilized horse species, and by the 1860s, there were many well-known species of ancient horses in Africa and in Asia and Europe. You can actually go. I mean, and again, I gesture like wildly at the cave paintings in Southern Europe. It's like, dude, they had horses here way, way, way before this flood was supposed to have happened, dude, pay attention. Are you listening, dude? Ugh.
And that they indicate a long, undisturbed period of production before the flood. The enormous cemetery of marine and land animals in South Carolina tells its own story. The question as to where the Ark grounded may be considered as correctly settled, Mount Ararat in Armenia. But the yet more interesting one, as to whence the Ark took its departure, as still open, and to its solution we contribute this volume, presenting many important facts which cannot be set aside by any fair-minded.
Sumami, I need your allegiance here. I need you to see if you can build an ark in Florida using only Bronze Age tools, and it has to be out of this stinking cedar. So you are going to stink, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Person. Meanwhile, the corroboration of the Mosaic record is of much greater moment than the discovery of the latitude or longitude of either Ararat.
The dudes on that palm tree might have been all right for a little bit. Being on a palm tree will float. It'll stay floating for a long time. You know, if you can grab a hold of a palm tree during a flash flood, a tropical flash flood or hurricane flooding, yeah, that might save your life.
Or Eden. The Ashley beds of South Carolina indicate beyond a doubt that the Western Hemisphere once abounded in animal life.
Ooh, I like that they have Zeuglodon. That's the name for Basilosaurus that I wish it had, but due to the way that scientific names are applied, Basilosaurus wins. This is not like surprising information. They're like, oh, look, camels and tapirs and porpoises. What? I thought for a second that said macropod, but it just says Macrops, tail of a saurian. Proroziphius. Proroziphius. I think that's probably, the name's probably changed on that, like it's changed on Zeuglodon. Teeth of peccary. Yeah, we still have peccaries in North America. A tiger shark, man-eating shark. I guess that's a megalodon. I don't know. Mylodon, which is a giant sloth. Phokodon. Monkeys. Everybody loves monkeys. Cast of periwinkle and conch. Skull of a saurian. This sounds like a witch's brew when I read it out like this. Wearing a ball cap is in a nice restaurant last. Uncouth behavior, I told you. Let me see. My daughter and I had dinner at a nice restaurant last night, and the next table was a typical Midwestern old white guy wearing a MAGA hat. My kid physically held me back from asking him when exactly America was great. Probably when he was a kid, when he has those rose-colored glasses, because I feel that way about the 90s. I look at the 90s and look back at the 90s and I'm like, oh, it was such a great time to be alive. It's, you know, the economy was good and my family was doing good. But that's my own rose-colored glasses. I get that. I understand that. I understand the 90s was horrific for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And if I had been an adult queer person in the 90s, I probably would have been a little bit more stressed because the way we were treated back then. But I was a kid, so I have this fond memory of it. And the thing is that these America Great Again people cannot differentiate their own rose-colored glasses memories of their childhood and their youth with the reality that existed at that actually at that time. Trump is a great example. He thinks because he grew up in the 50s, and his family was wealthy, so he grew up in the prosperous 50s, the post-war economic boom 50s. And that's what he's referring to. He does not think that's rose-colored glasses. Trump actually believes that is the world that existed as he remembers it in his childhood. It's really weird, but we all do it, but it's just recognizing when you have your own bias just because of nostalgia, right? I sometimes take the opposite tack with those jerks. Do you mean to imply America isn't the greatest country God ever made, man? Shame them with their own myths. They can't tell fact from fairy tale. Of course, they can't contextualize their own childhood. Right? They think their childhood experience of a time period is objective. That everybody during that time period had that same experience, and it was the best, and now just can't compare.
Of every variety, that if not originally, yet it had come to be a great center of organic existence at the period of the flood.
See, and that's the thing. D, exactly. My rose-colored glasses of the 90s, we're about the same age. I was born in 83, so is different. Our experience of what the 90s was like is different because of that.
It is not to be expected that a single deposit should contain absolutely the fossil of every species, yet there are few wanting in this huge cemetery of animate creation, so few as to make the supposition that with more time and discovery all will be found. In Europe, especially northern Siberia, in France, Italy, and England, extensive beds have been found and explored, which determine the common distinction of animals and man by sudden and overwhelming catastrophe. In the main, they are land animals, amphibious, but they do not contain extinct saurians, sharks, seals, in touch with extinct mammals, a vast fauna of land and water in one bed and in close contact, as we find in these phosphate beds.
Giant what? Hold on. Fortunate discovery in an earth of the skeletal remains of a prehistoric race of stupendous giant baboons. I don't think that they were that big, though. Holy crap, that's like King Kong sized. Natural phosphate from the benefit of the Ashley Phosphate Company, the great promoter of modern civilization and advanced agriculture. I don't think there was ever a baboon with a skull big enough that tiny men could stand on top of it.
With such a history before the flood, a large continent crowded with life in its most active expression, the wonder arises. How came it that presumably...
I just turned 35, or just turned 55. Oh, I thought you said you were born in 1984. Sorry. I thought for a second there I was older than you.
Nothing remained that both man...
Happy birthday. I played a birthday song for Maya. I guess I could have played a birthday song for D too, but your birthday wasn't on Live from the Hive Day. I guess I could have played it on the transpositions. Now I feel bad.
And beast, the horse and his rider, disappeared. That the slopes of the Atlantic, the prairies of Kansas, the heights of the Rocky Mountains, the pampas of Brazil, the range of the Cordilleras, became as still as death? How was it that this immense wealth of herds and flocks and fishes and huge mammalia disappeared, passed away, without leaving their tracks to tell the story, or cause...
What do you mean without leaving their tracks? We found their remains. What are you talking about? They left their remains. They didn't... Species generally don't snap out of existence in a sudden disaster, right? A good portion of the population can be wiped out in a natural disaster. And then the dwindling populations just can't recover. And over the next few centuries or thousands of years even, millions of years even, they just slowly dwindle down and disappear. It's not that complicated. And then when you have Paleo Indians showing up on the scene, hunting down the remaining members of the population, hunting them into extinction, that's just the way it goes.
Cause a suspicion of their having once been there. Had the inhabitants which usually attend such animals remained, the story might have came down to us that the horse and the ox.
I like how he's like quoting this book from 1901 by John Keener, who was speculating on how species existed in different continents than where they exist now before plate tectonics was understood. So the ark, they would have to travel on an ark or something, right? Because at that time they didn't realize plate tectonics didn't become a thing until the 1950s. So when Keener was writing this, it was like, yeah, how did ancient horses and rhinoceroses get to North America from if they don't exist there now and they exist in Asia and in Africa, and they must have originated here and been brought from here to the old world on Noah's Ark because they didn't understand plate tectonics. Easy peasy.
And the sheep and the goat once browsed upon these great plains and aided the life of man. Part 3. Time spent at sea. There has long persisted a misconception that Noah's Ark was only at sea for 40 days and 40 nights, which leads some people to assume the Ark did not travel very far. A careful analysis of Genesis, chapters 7 through 8, reveal that Noah spent a minimum of 150 days at sea, by no means a brief voyage. To think that an unmaneuverable ship could have started on dry land in Iraq, Iran, or Syria, only to touch back down in Turkey, the country right next door, after 150 days at sea, is comical to say the least.
Why is that comical? So, with a global flood, right, in mountain ranges, it's going to create gyres that last for decades, not just hours. Gyres that just swirl and swirl. You're not going very far. In a global flood, the mountain ranges and the currents and the water, the way the water would pour into the valleys, would create endless gyres. So they're doing a lot of swirling around. But he's going to make the claim that the Gulf Stream was still the same for some reason.
As the time frame indicates, it is far more likely that the Ark drifted away from the continent on which it departed. We resume from the Garden of Eden and the Flood by John C. Keener, dated 1901. Quote,
and the guy from before there was an understanding of plate tectonics, volcanism, all this complex stuff.
The Ark was lifted up, and, as it is so grandly said, quote, went upon the face of the waters. It started due east. It would presently strike the Gulf Stream, floating on that sea current. It would,
presuming the Gulf Stream existed, because you don't, like, the Gulf Stream doesn't exist in a vacuum. The Gulf Stream exists because the Isthmus of Panama is closed. This little section down here, right here, that's why we have a Gulf Stream, because there used to be a circumglobal current when things were warmer that fed into the Pacific, right? The water would come up from the South Atlantic, and instead of coming in here and hitting a barrier and turning back east, it would go right through here. So what that did was it created really hyper warm and wet southern continents, South America, Africa, and they were warm and wet, and then the northern continents, which were North America, Europe, and Asia. I mean, this contributed to what we call the Ice Age or the glaciation. The glacial maximum was this sucker being open, right? Because no warm tropical waters made their way up into the North Atlantic. So all of this was all frozen. There was a mammoth steppe that ran from here, right? From here all the way west across North America, Asia, all the way to here. A whole environment that camels and horses, bovids and pachyderms of all shapes and sizes traversed from east to west, from west to east, when the buried land bridge was above sea level. But the Gulf Stream wouldn't have existed prior to that. The Gulf Stream wouldn't exist if everything was underwater.
Take a northerly direction until it reached the 40th parallel, and then would go due east. And as so,
under the current currents, under the current currents and the formation of land masses and bodies of water, mountain ranges, and all that stuff. Yeah, that's where where things get hung up. The 40th parallel, where things get in the Atlantic, where things get kicked back east, which the sailors during the ages of exploration were always taken advantage of, because what you do is when you're leaving, you navigate southwest towards like the Canaries, and it'll bring you into a current just above the equator that'll take you right into the Lesser Antilles. And when you're heading back east, you go north up the American coast until you hit that 40th parallel, and then it just shoots you right on back towards the Mediterranean.
so many a helpless craft since would come within sight of Spain and Africa. But those coasts being submerged, there could be nothing to deflect the current, but it would pass over the plateaus of Spain into the Mediterranean, across the lower part of Greece, then over the plains of Asia Minor, and still holding the same parallel, strike Mount Ararat. The distance from Charleston to Mount Ararat is 131 degrees.
Why wouldn't it strike the Alps? Those are between it and Turkey, and they're taller than Mount Ararat. I think the mountains of what's the mountain range in North Africa called? The Atlas Mountains. Yeah, I think the Atlases are taller than Ararat too.
Degrees of latitude, or 8,000.
Maybe it was channeled between those two mountain ranges.
1,515 miles. The time the Ark was on the water was 150 days, or 3,600 hours. Off Cape...
You're depending on the Gulf Stream having the same properties under those flood conditions, and it just wouldn't. Like, the physics don't even make sense that you're claiming here.
Hatteras, the Gulf Stream has a velocity of 2.5 miles an hour. This would leave very little to be overcome, if anything, when we allow for the uninterrupted flow, which the current then had. It is not likely that animals would be landed in any other than the latitude to which they were accustomed. They would determine the direction of the Ark. The pathway of the Ark, under this supposition, had a blessing in it. Between the 30th and the 40th parallels have sprung the great philosophers, warriors, statesmen, and discoverers of the race. And
so, eek. Basically just making a mighty whitey claim there that people from between the 30th and 40th parallel are best, which is Europeans and Middle Eastern people, of course, but yeah, white people. Dr. Dino, aloha, Nerdita. How is it going? I finally got my butt in gear and got a new video done. Yay! Yay! The great dinosaur discoverer here. I don't want to spill any beans, but Dr. Dino has been making quite the splash on the paleontological scene here of late.
End quote. We resume from In the Beginning by L.V. Edison Calloway.
More Calloway. Here we go. Now, Calloway was the guy that we listened to talk earlier about that he was insistent that Noah's Ark was built in northwestern Florida.
Quote, "The waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days." Genesis chapter 7, verse 28. The ark did not have any propelling power. It just floated or drifted with the wind or atmosphere for 150 days and nights. Quote, "God made a wind to pass over the earth."
But you're just assuming that, that the currents and everything are going to be the same.
Genesis chapter 8, verse 1. We know from a teleological, scientific standpoint that cannot be refuted that there is an eastward drift of the wind, or atmosphere, from Bristol, Liberty County, Florida, to Mount Ararat in Armenia. We know from Atelios certainty that this drift of the atmosphere,
with the current position of the continental land masses, again, these people were writing these propositions before we understood plate tectonics. I'm really quiet. Did my mic drop? Let me see. No, not that. More volume settings. Yeah, it's way low. Turn it up. That should be a lot better. Matter of fact, that's a little loud.
is what causes the changes in our seasons. We know from Atelios certainty the normal rate of travel or speed of the drift of that wind or atmosphere. We know the distance from Bristol, Florida, to Mount Ararat. We know the exact size of the arc in length, breadth, and height. We know from Atelios mathematical certainty.
But why do all the depictions show different shapes? That last one was good. It was a square, or not square, rectangle, I guess I should say. I keep saying square, I mean rectangle. Whereas this is the boat-shaped one.
Just how fast an arc of that size would have drifted or traveled within the atmosphere within 150 days and night. We know from Atelios mathematical certainty that it would have traveled, and in fact did travel, from Bristol, Florida, to Mount Ararat in Armenia during the 150 days and nights that it was afloat. Noah and his family did not know they had landed on Mount Ararat, so far from their original home in Liberty County, Florida.
See, Georgia, Florida. Noah was a Florida man. What do you say? Teleologically, Noah was a Florida man.
They thought they had been drifting around over the mountains of the southern Appalachians.
Noah thought he was still in Appalachia. He thought he was, but he wasn't.
That was why they called some of the rivers near where they landed by the names of the rivers they had known in this country as Gihon, Hiddekel, and Euphrates. That was why they called some of the areas near where they landed by the names of the areas they had known in this country, such as Assyria, Ethiopia, etc. That is what has confused so many Bible students.
Wait a second. Are you saying Ethiopia's in North America too? I hope so.
Did not have the teleos key in interpreting it. That is why they have assumed that it happened over there. If the ark had been built anywhere in or near the area in Western Asia, as had been falsely assumed or supposed for such a long time, it would have been an utter impossibility for the ark to have landed on Mount Ararat. It would have drifted with wind or atmosphere during the 150 days.
Which you assume is going to be the same in flood conditions, which is quite ridiculous. Imagine that once the whole world is covered with water, the equator, not the 40th, is going to become the prominent current on the globe, right? That's just going to be how it is. That once you get all the land masses and continents and mountain ranges out of the way, and given a very short amount of time, no doubt, that the current would centralize the equator.
And nights that it was afloat, thousands of miles east, and could not have landed on Mount Ararat. Many people have asked, well, if the ark...
Ooh, Appalachia. I didn't even think about that, and that's where the forbidden fruit was from. Maybe the forbidden fruit was an Osage orange.
Really landed on Mount Ararat. Why hasn't someone found it, or parts of it? They never stopped to realize that the ark was built of wood, and that Noah and his sons needed wood to build new homes and other buildings after they landed, and that the most natural thing...
I think that once the ark once the whatever the gopher wood stuff that they put on it hardened, wouldn't... Because I'm assuming that because they talk about like being a pitch, like something they're putting over the top of it. Once that set would you be able to rebuild with that material?
For them to have done would have been to dismantle the ark and use the lumber for other purposes. I have laughed at the expeditions headed by so-called intelligent men, going to try to find the ark. Many ships built out of wood, thousands of years since the ark was built, have been dismantled, and the wood used for other purposes, so that no trace can be found of them. But as heretofore stated, it appears that the ark has been found on Mount Ararat. End quote.
Let's see. Ember's got some input here. Oh, he thinks Eden was... Okay, we talked about that. It's all coming together, says Deep Arcs. The gas giant planets show us how fluid currents work when there aren't interruptions. It could have been an orange. Those fruits are responsible for Ocala burning to the ground twice. So clearly cursed.
Part 4.
Part
the
4.
Saxor stones.
You ready for some Saxor
The
stones?
Book of Genesis does not afford us the details to determine for sure whether or not Noah's Ark was maneuverable, but serious biblical archaeologists are nearly unanimous in asserting that it was not. There is, however, a general consensus that a large wooden vessel, 450 feet or more in length, would have required the use of stone anchors, perhaps...
All right, hold on. Let's do this real quick. There's a lot more to go through here than I was anticipating. Okay, so, Saxor stones. A tireless prophet with salt and pepper beard and an inviting grin, John Saxor, knows that mainstream archaeologists, journalists, and folks in Tarpon Springs think he's nuts. They reject his Greek mythology and archaeology-based theories that Tarpon Springs is the center of the biblical Garden of Eden, and the Tampa Bay area coastline was the seaports of Atlantis. So if you're in Tampa, you're not just in Eden, you're also in Atlantis. It's been a tough sell, acknowledges Saxor, a 55-year-old bicycle mechanic and bartender who was homeless for much of 2004. Saxor has been ignored by archaeologists nationwide for the past 18 months, despite offering evidence of what he claims are 6,500-year-old stone ark anchors abundant on land near shoreline in Newport Richey, Holiday, and Tarpon Springs. It gets scary when you're in the front of the field, said Saxor, an amateur archaeologist since his college days at the University of Wisconsin. You don't want to be out there alone. You start questioning yourself. Last week, Saxor, this is from 2006, by the way. Last week, Saxor had a breakthrough. He found a believer, the type he had sought for years, an archaeologist with credentials and financial backing. Bill Donato, 55, a Californian archaeologist known for his underwork near the Bahamas as Association of Research and Enlightenment, came here to study Saxor's finding. This is like the Bimini Road guy. The maverick archaeologist was lured by pictures of the stones Saxor sent him and Saxor's telephone descriptions. I don't believe any of the Garden of Eden theories or most of John's views of Atlantis, which I did my master's thesis on, Donato said before his trip here. I'm interested because the pictures are similar to anchors found in Bimini last year and to 5,000-year-old finds in the Middle East. Finally, Saxor has found an expert willing to study the stones, which range in size from fragments light enough to be held to rocks with multiple holes weighing more than a ton. He's the best I could have found. I commend him for thinking outside the box, Saxor said. I wanted a team of archaeologists, but a lot more knowledgeable than me to study the undeniable evidence and make their own conclusions. Undeniable evidence. You sounds like you're real open-minded.
It's more accurately termed as drogue stones. Prior to the advent of the metal boat anchor, Stone anchors were used by every single seafaring civilization known to man, especially the Phoenicians and other Semitic seafarers.
You mean the idea of tying your boat to a rock is ancient? And a rock with a hole in it is be the best way to do that, to tie a rope to it. This all sound like just common things that multiple people around the world could come up with on their own.
They were frequently crafted from limestone or flint, and typically featured one or more holes bored through them. But rocks with no holes could also be fastened with rope, or were used as ballast stones.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest evidences for Noah's Ark having landed on or near Mount Ararat is the presence of megalithic drogue stones in that area. A drogue or storm drogue is a device trailed behind a boat in order to stabilize, maintain course, and prevent from turning broadside. Frequently deployed in rough conditions.
And your claim is that this is something that could only be created and deployed by one civilization.
At sea. In a National Geographic documentary, which has almost been entirely scrubbed from the internet, researchers set out to scientifically test the Noah's Ark narrative. Perhaps the climax of the entire production was an experiment in which a scaled-down model of Noah's Ark was tested in a wave pool, simulating a tumultuous global flooding event. The experiment clearly showed that without stone anchors or storm drogues, the ship quickly succumbed to the turbulent sea. But when the researchers tested the Ark with drogue stones attached, the Ark was able to withstand everything that the wave generator threw at it.
So this reminds me of when we talked about the, what was it? The little bird that they said, oh, this was definitely a flying airplane model. And they tested it in the wind tunnels and stuff.
The results indicated that the Ark's voyage could only have been feasible if drogue stones were deployed. As indicated earlier,
I guess this guy doesn't know about the heat problem. If you want to talk about issues that impacting the Ark, the heat problem.
Hundreds of cultures around the world have flood myths which closely mirror the account of Noah's Ark given in the Bible. Perhaps the earliest of these is contained within the Epic of Gilgamesh, a Sumerian epic considered to be the oldest written story ever, dated to around 2700 BC. In this account, it is said that a series of stone things, which are widely believed to be stone anchors or drogue stones, were needed to cross the so-called waters of death. It is possible.
Finally, you mentioned the Epic of Gilgamesh, but the whole time you skipped over talking about Utnapishtim, and it's really weird that you were like, oh, well, you said magic with the K, which makes me think that you're pagan. Maybe you're not, or maybe you're Assyrian pagan. I don't know, but even if you were Assyrian pagan, you think that Utnapishtim would be the name you used instead of Noah. Noah, it'd be like the Church of England saying that they had to start calling Jesus Jesus, right? Just doesn't line up culturally.
The Epic of Gilgamesh, which is believed by many to be the inspiration or a regional variation of the biblical flood myth itself, could fill in some of the gaps left out.
Or is the biblical flood myth a retelling of the Epic of Gilgamesh? Why are you inverting that when one tale is objectively older than the other?
In the Bible. It just so happens that Florida is the location for the largest collection of ancient megalithic ship anchors in the world. These are known as the Saxor stones, and are the focus of numerous videos of mine, mostly in relation to the fleet of Atlantis.
The fleet of Atlantis. Fuck yeah, the fleet of Atlantis. Let's do it.
The man for whom these anchors were named points out there is a great similarity between the story of Noah's Ark and the Greek myth of Atlantis. L.V. Edison.
Some of these holes can be created naturally. I'm not saying all of them are by any means, but there are definitely processes by which holes are bored through stones like limestone and what's the volcanic rock called that's really soft? Cursed. I think we talked about it in the blue hole section, but yeah, we know water can bore holes.
Callaway and John C. Keener made no mention of Florida's ancient stone anchors, so it is safe to assume that they were unaware of them. Despite this, the presence of megalithic stone anchors in Florida provides some of the most tangible evidence to date in the search.
See, like that one looks more natural. This one right here. The one the guy's leaning on, obviously, is people have been working this stone for a while. There's all these crosses carved into it.
Noah's Ark and the lost fleet of Atlantis.
Fleet of Atlantis. Some of these could have been ancient sex toys. Just saying. They even have dates on them. Look, 500 BC to 1500 AD. 500, 1500. Yeah, they're even dated. All of them younger than your alleged flood. But the fact that you think that native populations in Florida couldn't have invented drog stones, I disagree. They invented a lot of things. They invented wheels. Native Americans had wheels, so like whatever. I knew it was going to stick his head in that hole, right? Hello, Entropy fan. Good to see ya. Good to see everybody. We're looking at these holes. Look at all these holes. Today's episode I thought was going to be Florida heavy, but it's just been hole heavy. Do you have a hole? Is it blue? Then we're going to talk about Lusca. Is it stone? Then we're going to talk about Noah, Florida man.
Part 5. For those in denial.
Those in denial, like me, I'm in denial.
As mentioned earlier, it is rather common for people to assume that the flood reshaped the surface of the earth completely, meaning none of the continents extant before the flood even exist today, and vice versa. If this assumption is true, then the Garden of Eden still could not have been in the Middle East, and Florida is as good a guess as any. Regardless, those who make such...
Florida is as good a guess as any. No, it's not. It's really not. You've totally whitewashed Florida's history. Florida's paleo history, too. I mean, and I guess that would be history, prehistory, Paleolithic prehistory. You've just whitewashed over it with Atlantis and Bible nonsense, ignoring the fact that there were cultures and societies that grew here and developed here and had their own mythology and languages that you're just glossing over and circling the ones that the words that you of this language and that language that you think line up.
An assumption must account for evidence like the underwater cypress forests in the Gulf of Mexico, dating back to a time when sea levels were 400 feet lower. The experts tell us that these trees grew above water 60,000 years ago.
Okay.
Though I agree that we should never put all our eggs in a single basket by relying on academically proposed timelines, the depth at which these cypress trees are found certainly predates the extinction of the mammoth and mastodon by many thousands of years.
Yeah.
Hurricane season has taught most Floridians that the bottom of the pool is the calmest part during a storm. The suspiciously acronymed NOAA, the National Oceanic...
Suspiciously named. Look at this. Now we're getting into some real woo here. Look, they turn it upside down. You got an arc on top of a mountain.
Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, even concurs that the floor of the ocean is likely the safest place to be when a tsunami strikes at sea. It is safe to assume that so long as the Gulf Stream has existed, the freshwater springs of Florida have served as its primary source. The magnitude with which the springs in Florida flow could have quickly flushed...
Are we into blue holes again? How did we get back here? Floridian aquifer.
...away most of the sediment deposited by the flood, leaving the Florida peninsula very similar to its pre-Diluvian form. It could also be argued that the flood was a more localized event than is commonly supposed, in which a low-lying homeland, such as Florida, was quickly consumed by the sea, after which the Ark's voyage ensued. later landing near Mount Ararat, which may or may not have remained dry. Those who assume that the earth was entirely reshaped by the flood must also explain how it is that Mount Ararat was already there, standing tall, ready to receive the earth.
Would it have been a new mountain, though? And why is Ararat the first land that was exposed, not the taller mountains in between, like the Alps and the Atlas Mountains that Noah would have traveled between those two ranges, to get to the ancient Near East. To get to Turkey, you have to go from Florida. You have to go between the Alps and the Atlas Mountains. You just have to.
York, and it is not even the tallest mountain on earth. Genesis chapter 7, verse 19 through 20, only tells us that, quote, the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. End quote. Mm-hmm. Notice that all the high hills were covered.
You gotta love how he uses the King James Version, too. That's the most accurate version of the Bible, right?
But when it comes to mountains, it simply tells us that the mountains were covered. Not all or every, just the mountains. It is a well-known fact that both the Old and New Testament effectively make use of hyperbole, and there is a chance that this is one of those instances. Then
I'll agree with you there that the flood story is likely based around local flood mythology. At least the Utnapishtim story is.
Again, the fossilized remains of marine life can be found atop Mount Everest. Well, as John C. Keener puts it, quote, the breaking up of the deep, etc., at the time of the deluge would not necessarily imply any very great change in the conformation of the continents, nor in the sea currents. We must also remember that the Lord at the creation had in view the possibility of the flood, as well as of the fall, and arranged accordingly. End quote.
Again, John Keener existed before we understood plate tectonics. Should have brought your hip boots, yeah? That would have worked. Ark encounter, yeah, of course. Let's look at Ken Ham's baby. And they tried to put like a petting zoo in here, but they couldn't ventilate it properly to have even a small petting zoo inside this ark.
Here are a couple of ways you can support the channel.
I don't think so. I'm not supporting the channel. Well, you know what I will do? I will subscribe because you're quirky. You got some wild ideas, and I want to hear about your fleet of Atlantis at some point. 62,000 subscribers on this channel, though. Thank you, Dr. Longo. Is that what his name is, Dr. Longo? My dad grew up in Florida. I was born and raised in West Virginia. I visited when I was 3 and have no recollection, but I have visited multiple times as an adult, and I feel at home, feeling to me personally. It makes sense why I feel at peace there. And people just believe it. Like, yeah, what this guy says is true. What he says is true, and we should all believe him. Crazy. All right, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Noah's Ark being built in Florida? What do you all think about Noah being the Florida man? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to be kind. Take care, and we will see you next time. All right. Live from the Hive audience. Thank you again for sticking around. We have got more show to come. I'm going to be talking about... Actually, going to be talking about one of my favorite animals in Bree's Bestiary. So, stick around for that. And, yeah, I think that's about it. Anyway, I'll see you guys in a few minutes over there.
if it takes forever, I will wait for you for 1,000 summers. I will wait for you till you're back beside me, till I'm holding you, till I hear you sigh here in my arms. Anywhere you wander, anywhere you go, every day remember how I love you so. In your heart, believe what's in my heart. I know that forevermore I'll wait for you.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Bree's Bestiary, where I talk about animals. And today I've picked one that is super special to me. It was the first animal that I ever said, oh, this is my favorite animal. I love cats. I mean, I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. I've had dogs all my life. I've had cats too, but I've had dogs all my life, and I love them. They're great, and they're supportive, and they give you, like I just talked about, cuddles. We just watched some cuddles. So, yes, Critter Corner, Sandy. Maybe I should change the name from Bree's Bestiary to Critter Corner. I'll be like Cryptic Corner, Conspiracy Corner, and Critter Corner. Yeah, those are the three corners, and I sit in the fourth corner. But Bobcats. My kids make Therian mask. Yep, you got a wolf and a fox. But cats are Therians too. So I love cats. Like I think I identify more with a cat. Sort of their demeanor, their view on the world. I probably behave. I'm sure that anybody who knows me knows I have more of a personality like a dog. I really do. I'm more like a dog. But I love kitties so much. And when we were kids playing in the woods, like I've talked about so many times, we all were given spirit animals. We were little kids, but I shouldn't say little. We were like 9. We're all given spirit animals by this alleged older boy that was a druid, right? Like just being silly. But he gave me the bobcat, and I'm like, hell yeah, I love a bobcat, because bobcats are freaking athletic, and they compete. Like bobcats punch upward. Of all animals, I think bobcats, because they're genetically compatible with a domestic cat, right? You can have a bobcat domestic cat hybrid, but a bobcat can take down a freaking deer. Let's look at the bobcats, though. I kind of want to get you an idea of what we're dealing with here. So, yeah, let's watch this short little video about bobcats, and then we'll watch some bobcats in action.
The bobcat, Lynx rufus, stands as one of North America's most adaptable and resilient predators.
They got those white spots in the back of their ears, just like a freaking tiger. You know what else is one of my favorite animals? The Scottish wildcat, but I've covered them already. This is like, the bobcat's almost like the American answer to the Scottish wildcat, or to the European wildcat, because they didn't have wildcats per se in North America, but they did have lynxes, and this is a lynx species that sort of got smaller, not super small, but smaller than the other lynx species to fill a similar niche to a wildcat.
From southern Canada through the continental United States and into Mexico.
Show me them teeth. Show them to me.
These medium-sized cats can be found in diverse habitats including forests, deserts, mountains, and increasingly, suburban areas. Their extensive range spans from the Atlantic to the Pacific coast, demonstrating their remarkable...
So, like, my old hometown in Illinois actually had a bobcat, like, show up on someone's porch, and they had, like, all these pictures of it. It was all over the news and stuff. A bobcat in town. But yeah, they are starting to become urbanized a little bit.
Ability to thrive in various ecosystems and climates. Bobcats are relatively compact and muscular felines. Their distinctive appearance includes a reddish-brown to grayish coat, marked with black spots and streaks.
So that is actually I got to answer an Entropy fan here. What's the original Fossil Cuddle Buddies video? Deserves a like. Okay, so it's not one video. I found a contest that people had on like a forum somewhere, and they all made like little 30-second videos. And so I took all those little videos and patched them together and then put it over a version of Connie Francis's song, but not her covering it, somebody else covering it it was a man covering it, and then I sped it up to where it sounded like little creatures singing. And then that's how we had that video.
It is with black tips and the characteristic short bobbed tail. Bobcats, Lynx rufus, range across North America from southern Canada through the continental United States into central Mexico. They
come down to that like snow line where the snowshoe hares are, and then the Canadian lynx take over. And Canadian lynx are like a specialist at snowshoe hares. Yeah.
Inhabit diverse environments including forests, deserts, mountains, and suburban park areas. Bobcats usually stretch 78 to 94.
If I had a bobcat, I'd probably name it Oliver.
4 centimeters, 26 to 41 inches.
Or Olive, depending on whether it's a male or a female.
Inches in body length, and have a tail length of 10 to 18 centimeters, 4 to 7 inches. Height at the shoulder is 45 to 51 centimeters, 18 to 20 inches. Body weight ranges from 12 to 18.5 kilograms, 25 to 41 pounds. They have a relatively short bobbed tail that gives them their name. Their powerful build and...
Yeah, I did a stream of all my music and videos. I've done made some more since I did that stream, but I mostly did that to weed out the ones that were still getting copyrights, because I try to alter my stuff enough to make it so it's my own. And if it's not, again, I chipmunk a lot of my songs. Like, I'll never use like the official album version, though. I'll always try to find somebody doing a cover, like just doing a cover of the song, even just playing part of the song enough for me to alter it and change the tempo, maybe add some effects and stuff. Anyway, enough of that.
And keen senses make them very tough, resilient hunters despite their relatively small size compared to other wild cats.
I love how graceful they jump, and we're going to see that in a minute.
In ecosystems where larger predators such as wolves have been eliminated or greatly reduced, bobcats have emerged as crucial regulators.
I love your sideburns.
Of both invasive and native pest species populations. Their role has become increasingly important as
they're so buff too.
Human development continues to fragment natural habitats and alter predator-prey dynamics across North America. One of the bobcats' most significant contributions to ecosystem management is their control of rabbit populations. Both native and introduced rabbit species can cause considerable damage to agricultural crops and native vegetation when their numbers grow unchecked. Bobcats are particularly efficient at hunting rabbits, with studies showing that a single adult can consume hundreds of rabbits annually.
Which is why they have a balance, and the bobcat's a good example, but I think the quintessential example is the Canadian lynx. But they do kind of cross over habitats, and they are interfertile.
This natural population control helps maintain balance in ecosystems while protecting both agricultural interests and native plant communities. The impact of bobcats on rodent populations is equally impressive. As skilled hunters of mice, rats, voles, and other small mammals, bobcats help control species that can damage crops, spread diseases, and
You don't see bobcats too often in the wild either. The only time I've ever seen a bobcat in the wild was a mother with her kittens running across the road about 20 yards in front of me at night in the spring on a very, very desolate gravel road. That's the only time I've ever seen a bobcat in the wild. I've seen dead ones that people have hunted or trapped, mostly trapped. Bobcats are trapped. They're fur bearers in this area.
and compete with native wildlife for resources. In agricultural areas, this natural pest control service provides significant economic benefits.
That one doesn't have hardly any spots at all. There's a lot of variety and it has more of a red tint to it. Now, their melanistic bobcats are a thing, but they almost always are hybrids with domestic cats.
By reducing crop damage and decreasing the need for chemical rodenticides, which
Oh,
can
that's
have
a black-
detrimental effects on non
That was a jackrabbit. Did you see that? A black-eared jackrabbit?
target species and the environment. In regions where invasive nutria have become established, particularly in wetland areas, bobcats have demonstrated their adaptability by incorporating these destructive rodents into their diet. Nutria, originally introduced for fur
Like how they
farming,
keep talking about nutrients, showing different animals. Show a muskrat, show a woodchuck.
can cause extensive damage to wetland ecosystems through their feeding habits. Bobcats' predation on nutria helps mitigate this damage, protecting valuable wetland habitats and the native species that depend on them. Bobcats have also been recorded killing full-grown mule deer single-handedly, although it is mostly fawns that are taken during
Yeah, so that's what really punching up. A mule deer is big, bigger than a whitetail even.
encounters. This predation comes in handy especially when young deer species numbers are on the rise. This shows how tough bobcats are. There's believed to be over 3 million individuals living in the wild. In agricultural settings, bobcats' hunting activities can create a cascade of beneficial effects. Beyond directly controlling pest species, their presence can influence the behavior of prey animals, causing them to avoid certain areas or become more vigilant. This behavioral modification can result in reduced crop damage even when actual predation rates are relatively low, demonstrating the importance of maintaining bobcat populations in agricultural landscapes.
That's
The
a big
role
old
of
bunny.
bobcats in urban and suburban
You're so cute. Look at how angry he is. Stop being so mad. I'm gonna boop you. I'm gonna boop you. He's probably mad because his foot's in a trap. A lot of these videos like this are the bobcats stuck in a trap.
environments has become increasingly important as these areas expand into natural habitats. In these settings, bobcats help control populations of synanthropic species such as rats, mice, and rabbits that tend to thrive in human-modified landscapes.
There's them
Their
teeth.
presence can help
Yes.
prevent these species from reaching problematic numbers,
You are so tough and scary. Look at you. Scare that mean person with the camera away. Say, get away from me. I'm scary and have big teeth.
reducing human-wildlife conflicts
Show 'em.
and the need
Yeah.
for artificial control measures.
I'm a tiger.
The effectiveness of bobcats as pest control agents is enhanced by their hunting strategy and territorial behavior. Unlike some predators that may focus on larger prey, bobcats are opportunistic hunters that readily switch between prey species based on availability. This flexibility allows them to respond to fluctuations in pest populations, providing a
Well, what we call pests, what humans call pests, not what bobcats call pests. Bobcats call them food. It's going to be birds and rodents and reptiles. Yeah, even some bugs, I think.
natural checking mechanism that helps prevent any single species from becoming overabundant. As we continue to face challenges from invasive species and human-wildlife
Ooh,
conflicts,
he's handsome.
the importance of bobcats in maintaining ecosystem balance becomes
Meow.
increasingly clear. Their ability to adapt to various environments while effectively controlling pest populations makes them invaluable allies in both wildlife management and agricultural protection.
Agreed.
Bobcats also play a vital role in controlling invasive
Look at those
bird
weird feet. Look at the weird feet on that guy.
species. While primarily ground hunters, they are capable climbers and can prey on both ground nesting and tree nesting birds. This includes introduced species such as European starlings and house sparrows, which can compete with native birds for nesting sites and
Sure.
resources. By preying on these invasive birds, bobcats help maintain more balanced avian communities.
Eat an
These
alligator.
fully American cats have also been seen hunting invasive pythons and young alligators in the Florida Everglades and salmon in northwest United States.
Look at that, catching a
It's like
salmon.
bobcats have become the new apex predators, since their larger competitors have disappeared.
Yeah.
Subscribe if this is your
So like wolves and mountain lions and stuff, they've been extirpated in a lot of the original range, and bobcats and coyotes have stepped in to fill the role. Look at this. Watch this bobcat. This is what I love these cats so much. Watch this guy. Do it.
Oh, shit.
Oh. Frickin' boom, boom, boom. I'm watching it again. I love it. Make that jump, baby cat. Yes, you do it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
All right. And then we have, let's see. We got one chasing a squirrel. Let's check this out. Chasing a squirrel. Look at that. Jumps right out of the tree right behind the squirrel. Whoom. Oh, barely misses it too. Run, Squirrelio. That's pretty badass. Check out this sweetie pie.
He's so big that we think he's a hybrid. He's supposed to be a northern,
Uh-huh.
or southern, but we think he's a hybrid because he's so big.
He's so cute. I think you like me. Are we friends?
This isn't a wildcat sanctuary.
Bobcat, he's so cute. What kind of bobcat is he?
Well, I'm gonna skip that question because it's a catch-22. Because he's so big that we think he's a hybrid. He's supposed to be a northern, or southern, but we think he's a hybrid because he's so big.
There was another video of a bobcat jumping. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's this one here. Whoosh. Super slow-mo. Well, he's not aiming for that one. What you aiming for? Ooh, this one right here. They don't have big long tails to balance like a lot of other cats do. Now, I did get his legs in the water that time. It just kicks the water off. It's like, cool, cool. All right, let's see. There was, what was this one? Gonna jump. Whoosh. Nice. Smooth. Boom. Boom. Graceful AF. I like how much they catch a bobcat jumping. It's like always doing aerial acrobatics. Just whoosh. Jump, jump, bobcat, jump. Boom. There it goes. Bobcat's just leaping and bouncing everywhere. The bouncing bobcats. Bobcat jumps in the backyard to kill dog. We won't watch that, but damn, there's like 3 bobcats there. How did a bobcat get on top of this 40-foot cactus? What? Stickers in him, though. Stickers in this fur. Jump, little bobcat. Do the bobcats know I love them? Will somebody let them know? I think that they probably don't. But I love you so much, little bobcats. It says the bobcat jumping in the description. Oh, different angle. Was that the jump? Just that little jump? I want to see epic bobcat jumps. Bobcat jumps are epic. They're only surpassed by the jumps of the snow leopard. Oh, you're so cute. Will somebody tell them? Oh, there we go. Will somebody tell them I love them? I don't think that they know, and I need them to. Somebody's pet. I don't like that. It's still going to make the jump, but I don't like that you have it on a leash. But I guess that's what you have to do if you have a pet bobcat. Can't exactly let it roam free. I wonder if that's what rescue that is. How high can bobcats jump? I want to see it jump. Let's see how much air you can get, little bobcat. Gonna jump? Oh, he knows that. Rattles. Could you imagine just like they don't have any medical care or anything. It's like, you know what? I think I'm going to pick a fight with this venomous reptile. And they're so confident with their agility and speed that they can avoid each and every strike. It's like a tale as old as time, the bobcat and the rattlesnake. Oh, get it. One bite could kill that cat.
Get it. Get it. Kill it.
I don't know about the whole kill it, but...
Don't get bit. Yeah, there you go.
Just shakes it.
Good luck, buddy.
With bobcats and billcats, yeah. And like everywhere you look, people like bobcat. Here's a bobcat and a deer. How's this gonna go down? They're both doing tail signals. Deer's about to find out. She's like, I'm gonna stomp your head in.
Then the animal caught sight of his nephew Mike.
All of a sudden he's looking at me, just giving me the death stare, and you could tell he's...
Did they get any of it on video? No.
Bobcat mauled Mike. His uncle pulled it off.
That was my right arm.
So
Yeah.
a lynx is not a bobcat, but they are in the same family. So I wouldn't
Not even a
include
bobcat.
These two lynxes have a heated argument.
Lynxes are for another day, my dude.
Go on the other side of the camera. They have a tendency to hold a grudge. Go on.
Oh. He's mad.
I'll throw the catch pole at her.
Throw your defense at her. That's a good idea. Make sure you can't defend yourself if she comes lunging through the... Oh, okay.
A family thinks it's raising a regular cat, but oh no, my friends.
He and his family gave her a blanket, some food and milk, and of course some TLC. They even took her to a vet the next day to have her checked.
And he gives the man some teeth and claws to let him know.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, cute and wild.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, okay.
Calvin, thank you.
A rabid bobcat who was not very happy to see this officer, and he gives the man some teeth and claws to let him know.
Oh, shit. Is it really rabid? That's not how you use that pole, dude. Christ on a stick. Come on. You get it around the neck. Do not open that door. In case somebody doesn't have the basic comments, there you go. There you go. Oh my goodness. Alright, now coming up is the most replayed segment here. Is that it? No, number 6 is the most replayed.
A bobcat sees some human intruders, but doesn't make too much of a fuss. It even marks its territory just in case.
Like, just a video of a cat going to the bathroom. Is it going to attack? Why was that popular? I guess the slow motion was...
A fallen tree and gets a surprise of a lifetime when a... Frisco is an affluent suburb in Dallas, which is where I live. Frisco have had lots of like coyote sightings, and recently have been seeing more and more bobcats.
Is that... Yeah, I guess it is. The white patches in the back of the ears.
What is the city doing to keep wildlife in check?
Yeah, we sent David Goins to... Are certainly part of life in North Texas, and particularly in Frisco of late.
This looks like a pretty young bobcat, but so what? It can still tear your butt up.
I want to poop him so much. He's so cute. It's not good for him, the chlorine water isn't, but we can't stop him. The pigeons love it. I think maybe the pigeons use it like as a antibiotic. He's mad. Okay, last one. Love that snarl. You're so tough.
A bobcat that has been trapped in a cage wants out, like, right now. Nah, Mr. Bobcat. You are going to have to calm down a bit first. I ain't ready to be turned into mincemeat.
He's scared. He's not... You're scaring him. That's why he's acting like that. He's got a nice deep voice.
Thanks for watching.
Hell yeah. All right. So that was Bree's Bestiary on Bobcat Shenanigans. I hope you enjoyed this little segment. And please remember to be kind and take care. And we will see you next time. All right. Live from the Hive, peeps. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for hanging out with me this Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon now. I actually went for 3.5 hours. That was because that Florida NOAA thing was so freaking long, but I had to cover it. I had to cover it because you guys needed to know. If you missed it, you're going to have to rewind, though. So, that was Live from the Hive for Saturday, December 14th. And we're at noon now, so have yourself a lovely afternoon.
With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what's really happening and what's really true. Good news, everyone! Welcome to The Transpositions, your compass in the rugged landscape of transgender issues. Here, we strive to be the beacon of authenticity, providing a platform that amplifies the voices and experiences of the transgender community. From breaking news to in-depth features to breaking down the real science, we are committed to fostering understanding, empathy, and empowerment for all individuals across the gender spectrum. Join us as we navigate the complexities, celebrate the triumphs, and advocate for the rights of transgender people worldwide. Together, we can redefine boundaries, challenge stereotypes, and champion inclusivity. Subscribe today.